Okay, I'm gonna fix my hair here, so I gotta look fancy, right? As good as possible, and then we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna keep Grandpa quiet here for the very beginning, and I'm just gonna read a little bit of an intro I have. So this is my grandpa, Eric Gergel, who has no middle name. I know very few people who don't have a middle name. However, my grandpa's lack of a middle name does not seem odd to me, as he has always been straightforward and to the point. Perhaps one aspect of his persona of which he is most proud is his iconoclasm. I didn't know what it meant, but after Googling and kind of talking with my dad and some other people, it literally means breaker of idols, and I agree. If this conversation goes into movies or anything fantasy or any of my dreamlike adorations of Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, I know those dreams and adoration will be quickly crushed by his steadfast ideals. So about my grandpa. My grandpa was born in 1924, a few years after the end of the First World War and the prior pandemic. He was born in the southeast corner of England, a county called Kent, famous for being home to the White Cliffs of Dover. He went to school in the town of Rochester, Kent, and was 15 years old when World War II broke out in 1939, at which time he was evacuated to Cardiff in Wales. He then returned to England and then joined the Royal Air Force, or RAF. He trained there to become a navigator on the Lancaster bombers, one of the many fighting against Germany for England and the world. After the end of the war, he trained as a chartered accountant. He did not practice for as long as his father, Isaac Gergel, who unfortunately died suddenly at 57 years of age. But when my grandpa's father died, Eric, my grandpa and his sister, Beryl, took over the family business, selling women's clothing, which in the UK in the middle part of the 20th century was known to many as a schmutta business, and the word schmutta being Yiddish for a rag. My grandpa married my grandma Edna Olive Matthews in 1957 when he was 32 years old, and they had 4 children, the oldest of whom is my father, Ivan. So my memory of my grandpa and my grandma is a really lovely one. Having a family so distant, 3,000 miles away, I sometimes felt left out, different from the other kids at school who had such kind of large holiday events with all their family together. However, all these feelings of sadness were quickly drowned out as soon as I stepped into my grandparents' house. It was if I was suddenly, it was amazing. I mean, if I was suddenly struck blind arriving to England, I would know where to go, as I see my grandma and grandpa had a never-ending pot of chicken noodle soup boiling on the stove. And this soup was pure gold. It was gold, gold, gold. I knew when I stepped into their home, my grandpa would be cutting the vegetables very carefully, as he always did, and my grandma would be cooking the soup. And as we stepped into their Stanmore home every single time in Northwest London, it really did feel like a second home. And they, of course, demanded a hug before we were quickly swept up to our dedicated room upstairs to catch some much-needed sleep from a long, long journey, usually like 12 hours. But awakening from this slumber was not like awakening at all, as the coziness of their home, the coziness of everything around them, the Gergel family was so much so that their warmth enveloped every nook and cranny of their Stanmore home. When I awoke, I was not awake, but living in a dream state, floating down the stairs to find where the warmth came from, to be part of the most magnificent, loving, and scarily amazing family that I've ever had the great pleasure to be a part of, to hug and kiss and sit with the people that I will never forget and always love, my grandma and my grandpa. So, Grandpa, I hope that's a good enough intro. What do you think? Do you think
That's
it's a good
fine.
Great.
You've made a few minor mistakes.
Yeah. Correct me.
I won't pick you up on
Okay. Well, we'll hopefully get now. That's all the written stuff. Now it's just free for it. We could do anything right now. Anything.
Okay. First of all, I was evacuated to Pontypridd, not Cardiff.
Oh, okay. There's one correction. Yes.
But first, before that, I went to Canterbury, which is dead crazy because it's far closer to Germany than Chatham, where I lived. So it was right in the firing line, but still. They moved it. And there was another one, but it doesn't matter about it. That one was very minor, except I wasn't quite 15 when the war started.
Oh, you weren't? How old were you when the war started?
I was just nearly 15.
You were just nearly 15. Okay. Oh,
as nearly 15 as I'm nearly 97 now.
Yeah.
No, not quite.
Very close though. We're getting pretty close to it. Pretty close to it. So what do you know? Do you remember when you first found out that the war was starting? Do you remember what that was like? Because you said you were just around 14, close to 15, right?
Well, first of all, the war started on the 3rd.
On the 3rd.
On the 1st of September, we were evacuated to Canterbury, as I said.
Yep.
And we spent our time filling sandbags and helping picking what they make beer with. What's it called?
Sand. What do you mean? Like
Hops. Hop picking.
Yeah.
Which I worked a whole week for $1, and that was it. Then we were there. After that, then I was out with my friend on the 3rd of September, standing on the bridge over the River Stour, and we heard the sirens, and we thought, this is it. We rushed back home. So that was my first experience of the war.
Did you know the war was? Did you
we
feel
knew it was imminent.
You knew it was coming?
We knew it was imminent, of course. Imminent.
Yeah. Was there? Did they think it was definitely going to happen, or was there any doubt in the mind of the news? And all that kind
no.
It was going to happen.
It was going to happen.
Were there preparations being made at your house for the war?
Well, certainly were. We had there was 2 types of shelters, bomb shelters. There was the Anderson shelter, which was built in the garden under some earth and stuff.
Yep.
And there was a Morrison shelter, which was like a large, about the size of this wooden table,
really?
Made out of metal, which we kept in the downstairs coal cellar.
Wow.
And we all got in under that if there was any bombing going on. So that was supposed to protect us. What would happen if the house fell down on top of it, I have no idea, but it was there. Strangely enough, talking about the house, can I say something?
Yeah, good. Say anything.
Very odd. Strange. We lived in this house, 1 Cambridge Terrace, Chatham, where I was from a young age, from about the age of 10 or 12 up to we left Chatham. And that house was a terraced house. That means that all houses adjoining it in both directions, going down the hill and going up the hill. And on a recent visit to Chatham, just for old memories, that house is still there. It's the only one in the centre, for some reason or other. It's the only one left in the centre of Chatham. I don't know what.
Do you know what happened to the other houses?
Oh, they were obviously knocked down to make car parks and roads and all sorts of things.
Maybe they knew Eric Gergel was living there at one point.
Maybe, yeah.
I think that's why. That could be the reason.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's mad.
Were you
one of these days I'll find out.
Were you afraid about the war at all? Were you scared that it was going to happen?
It's no. Really. I don't know. It was very fun. I mean, you want to hear about my well, it's happened later, but when I was 15 or so, we went. I think I was living back in Kent there in Chatham, and we went to London the afternoon to see my grandfather in hospital. My maternal grandfather, and we're going back to Chatham, which was an hour's journey by train from Charing Cross Station, and that was the day, September the 29th, 1940, was the day of the first big air raid on London, and the town, we sat in this, and we were in this waiting room in Charing Cross Station, bombs falling all around, and I suppose I was a bit afraid. Mainly I was afraid because there was a big glass mirror just over where we were sitting. And I thought, well, if we're hit, that's going to fall on top of us. And
that would be bad.
Pardon?
I said that would be bad. Were people freaking out around you?
No.
Was there mayhem? No.
No, they weren't. Strangely enough, I may be mistaken, but I think the feeling during the war was nothing at all like this panic which goes on with this COVID.
Really?
Obviously, the danger was much greater.
Yeah.
But people seemed to be, just didn't seem to worry about it. Of course, they were worried.
Yeah.
They were worried. They were worried about being hit. But it's a different atmosphere entirely. We couldn't get the train back home so we had to get a bus because the bridge over the River Thames where the trains went was on fire, so the trains couldn't go. So the trains couldn't go, so we got a bus through to Victoria Station, and literally you could read a newspaper. The whole of London was on fire, especially to the east of us in the city. And you could actually read, and there was hoses all over the place, firemen running around. Well, the bus drivers just took us back to Victoria. We got a train back to Chatham.
Were sirens going the whole day, the whole time and stuff
No,
like
the
that?
sirens only go when the thing started.
Yeah.
And then they go again when the raid is over. But, all sirens were used to the sirens. Just as a sideline.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing. So my question was, so did your mom or dad, did they tell you about kind of what was going on? Were they like, listen, we're at war right now? Or did you kind of learn it on your own?
Well, we learned it on our own.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it. I was 15 years old, don't forget. I wasn't a child.
Just in the station, when you were in the station, were you worried that you had lost your house or anything like that, or no?
No.
No, because I guess it wasn't there, right?
No, actually, Chatham, where we lived, was a very big army base, a naval base. Obviously, it was one of the three big naval bases. The Royal Engineers were there, the Marines were there, and it was a very restricted area. Nobody could go into that area until we can, let's say, live there or had a special reason for being there. But we were there, and we were very well protected. In fact, we didn't get a lot of bombing. We had a smoke screen over the town. I'll tell you about that later. But, we had a smoke screen when there's danger of bombing. There was a smoke screen over the whole town because we had a specially protected town.
Tell me about that. I'm just gonna fix my audio real quick. Keep talking.
You want to know about that?
Yeah, I'm interested. Like what? There must have been a lot that went into that, is what I was thinking.
Well, what we want, there was a corps in the army called the Pioneer Corps, which didn't have guns or weapons because they were mainly consisted of foreigners, refugees, foreigners who'd come into the country, and they weren't to be trusted with weapons. And but they were called the Pioneer Corps, and they came round. There were hundreds of these little trucks with big furnaces on the back in which they burned oil. And so when there was a danger of bombing and the air was reasonably still, they would go all around the town with lighting these fires and burning crude oil. So you can imagine what the town was filthy, obviously, and strangely enough, one of the men, my mother always entertained soldiers during the war, mainly Jewish soldiers. Any Jewish personnel would come round to us on Friday night, and one of them was one of these pioneers called Jimmy Katz, and he eventually married my aunt. That's how. And he was one of we called them the Smoky Boys. Actually, in Wikipedia, they call them the Smoky Joes. But they were definitely called the Smoky Boys.
So Wikipedia is wrong?
As far as I'm concerned, Wikipedia is wrong.
I think I believe you.
We called them the Smoky Boys, not the Smoky Joes. Smoky Joes was something different. A Smoky Joe was a cafe where you went in and had Jack and chips during the war. But that's different. That was a Smoky Joe. These are the Smoky Boys.
Smoky Boys. The Smoky Boys. That's amazing. So you said, and washing was hard to do, you said, because it was just smoke.
It was impossible to hang out washing.
How long did it take for the smoke to get out of the air and stuff like that?
I do think I remember.
It stayed there. It probably stayed there for a long time.
A little while, yes.
And people were, it's funny, but there's no worry about that, right? Because you're like, it's better than being bombed.
Better than being bombed, yeah. We didn't have many bombs in the Medway towns. The three towns, Rochester and Chatham and Gillingham, were called the Medway towns.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a lot of bombing there, straight enough.
So the bombings, I said it's so fast. Can you tell me about another experience you had with bombings or not evacuations, but any other bombing events?
Of course, where we were was, we used to see in the summer, the American bombers. We saw the American bombers going later on in the war. Later on in the war, we saw the American bombers going out because they always flew in daytime, whereas the British bombers always flew at night. Oh. So we used to see them. And when the Battle of Britain was on, I wasn't there. I was evacuated, so we were in. But they used to see all the fire, all the battle over the town. Obviously,
wow.
It was all going on. But I personally never witnessed that because we were evacuated at the time. But certainly saw the bombs going over.
So what was it like to be evacuated? What is that like? What happens?
Well, I'll tell you. We first went to Canterbury.
Yeah.
The whole school went.
Yeah.
And we took over an old hospital, which was a school, And we were in Canterbury. I was very lucky. I was billeted with a grocer's. He was the manager of a grocer's shop, and we lived over a grocer's shop, so I was never short of food, as some people were.
Yeah.
A real old-fashioned grocer's shop, which everything was cut from the butter was cut from the block, and they didn't have bags. They used to wrap up pieces of old newspaper and serve up the sugar and the salts and all that sort of things.
Just out of curiosity, how much would a piece of butter cost? Like if you were to get a thing of butter off the block, how much would that cost? Do you remember?
I have absolutely.
What I'm just trying to figure out the
maybe
average.
a shilling. I don't know.
Shilling.
Maybe something like that.
That's crazy.
Well, in the earlier days, when I was at school in Chatham before the war, it was a very pretty poor area, and round the corner from my school was a sweet shop, and they had made homemade sweets, and you could actually buy sweets for a farthing, which is actually a quarter of an old penny, which is the 960th, if you like to think of a pound. You could actually buy some sweets for that.
I can't even do that math in my head, but it's a very small amount.
Very small amount. Yeah, sure. So things, but the average price of a bar of chocolate, which now would be, how much a bar? A quarter pound of chocolate?
Yeah.
How much would it be?
Oh, I don't know, maybe $4 or £4, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple was about tuppence, 2 pennies, and a quarter penny. Yeah,
2 pennies.
What was very expensive for a shilling, you could get Terry's. We can't get them anymore. Terry's roasted almonds, and they were a shilling a quarter, which is really expensive.
A quarter? We could do that now. No.
A shilling a quarter of a pound.
Wow. So you were evacuated to above this grocery store.
Right, yes.
And
we lived in Canterbury, which I didn't like the town very much. It's a bit of a snooty town. Apart from my family, who were lovely, the rest of them weren't very nice. In fact, we were even told off because we didn't have where to work. It was after my GCE, or what they call it, O-level, what they call it now.
Yeah.
And we wanted to work in the library. They wouldn't let us work in the library. My sister Beryl was with a minor civil servant's house, and they were all horrible people. You couldn't go back in the daytime. You couldn't go upstairs during the daytime. You took your shoes off when you went to the house. It was, really just like that. But my family were lovely.
So
lovely.
How do they pick these families? Is it just
random?
Just random.
Just random when you were. But then we went in June. Oh, we're 1940. Where were we? September, around about June, when they dissolved. June the next year, they decided that Canterbury wasn't a particularly safe place, so they sent us to South Wales, to Pontypridd, which is about 12 miles north of Cardiff. And there, the difference, the contrast was incredible. As our train drove into the station, which was the railway was above the town, it was all mountains there, and we were on the side of a mountain. The railway was on the side of a hill. And we looked down, and there were hundreds of people waiting. There was a band, and there were flags, and the people there were amazing. The South Wales people. I, first of all, was moved into a house of an ex-miner. They moved out of their bed. They gave us their best bedroom. They were incredible, amazing people. They were then. Afterwards, I moved to a Jewish family. It's really, they were wonderful. The people in South Wales were amazing. They were amazing people.
Was it crowded in the house?
This house?
The new house you went. The houses when you would go, evacuated.
No, it wasn't. It didn't seem to be. I don't think it was crowded. They were wonderful, those people. And then I went to live with a Jewish family with they ran a decoration newspaper, wallpapers and paint shop. And obviously the sons were in the army, and we, there's a fish and chip shop next door where you get fish and chips for £6. But that's all sorts of things happening.
And this was just because I'm not sure. Was it your whole family that would go to this house?
No, just us children.
Just the children.
No, our family was at home.
Oh.
No, we only just my sister and I. We went with the whole school. The 2 schools were evacuated.
Just the schools were evacuated. So the parents, are they not evacuated?
No.
They stayed there.
Oh, they stayed there. No adults were evacuated. Only children.
Adults were evacuated.
Well, some, if they wanted to evacuate themselves, which they did, they moved, And,
did you?
Your grandma's family moved up to Blackpool, where there was no war at all. Really was no war. And my parents stayed at home. They carried on with business in the normal way.
Did you miss your family, like your parents, when you went away? Or?
So it's funny. We didn't somehow. My mother somehow accepted everything. She didn't seem to worry about us. I don't know why, but she was very fatalistic. We went and that was it.
Yeah.
They used to come and visit at Canterbury. They even used to come down to South Wales and visit us sometimes. But, we took it all in. It was a different atmosphere then. It's completely different somehow.
Wow.
And what do you want to know? Anything else? What happened afterwards?
I want to know. Don't worry. We got a long time here. We're going to be here for like 3 hours, 2-3 hours.
Oh,
we'll take breaks.
Oh, well, I can expand.
Oh, I got lists of questions here. The thing is, everything you say is so interesting that I just get pulled into it. But you can expand. We're going to be here for forever. We could be here forever.
Yeah, well, and then I took my school certificate, which I failed the first time. I didn't matriculate. The second time I had to take it twice. Maybe because the education was interrupted. That's my excuse. That's my excuse.
A good excuse, yeah.
A good excuse.
There's things going on around you too.
I need to have what they called a matriculation, which was 5 credits, including maths. You have to get to be able to go to an accountant, which I wanted to be. And then I came back when Beryl, my sister, stayed with her wonderful family, and she was with a family called the Littlestones, a marvellous family.
Wow.
6 children. And we were friendly with them right up to very recently.
Yeah.
The whole family. Most of them have gone now, unfortunately. And she was very friendly with them. And then I came back home and...
Was Beryl scared about being evacuated and stuff like that? How did she take it? Your sister? No,
she was more stoic than me.
Yeah.
Beryl was very stoic. She was very straight. And what happened then? After I'd taken my exam, I fasted and went back home, and I was asked to a firm of accountants in London. And you had to do something. When I was 17, I joined the Home Guard. The way it was called, the Home Guard.
Okay. What is the Home Guard?
Right. Have you never seen, what's it called, the program? What's it called about? Oh, God, what's it called, the program about? It's a very famous television program about the Home Guard, anyway, they are sort of civilian soldiers.
Uh-huh.
We were part of, we weren't part of the army. We were civilians, but we wore army uniforms.
How old were you?
17.
17.
And we were just like the army, but we lived at home.
Yeah.
And it was called the Civil Defence Force at first.
Yeah.
And then it was called the Home Guard. I wish I could remember the name of that.
Oh, it's okay. And you had to sign up for this, right? Or were you enlisted?
No, we didn't sign up. We just went along and joined.
You just went up and joined. How is the join? Is it like a barracks or is it a house?
Yes, we went to a hut where there's a special hut near the town hall. We joined up. We were issued with uniforms, and we were given a rifle.
Why did you want to join?
Well, you had to do something. You had to. It was. Well, I don't know if you had to, but I think everybody did something. Everybody did something. For instance, either there were air raid wardens. That was civilians used to go around telling people to draw their curtains at night. Every house had to be blacked out. Every house had blackout curtains, and you weren't so if there was a chink of light showing, the wardens would go around the streets and tell people to draw their curtains. the famous word, put that light out. That was the always what they used to say. You couldn't have you know what blackout curtains are, yes. And there were air raid wardens who went round the streets, and they were equipped with, every house was equipped with a stirrup pump, which was a water pump and a bucket. So if you did get an incendiary bomb coming in your house or near you in your garden or outside, you were supposed to put it out with the water, the water pump. So there were fire wardens.
Yeah.
There were air raid wardens.
Yeah.
And my father was a special policeman.
Okay.
From before the war, he was, because my father was in the army in the First War.
Mm-hmm. I read he was climbing. I read a small thing from, and I remember, was he climbing? I heard he was climbing pyramid. Did he climb the pyramids and stuff like that?
He did, yes, he did. When he joined the way, first of all, he was in France, and then. I'm telling you all this stuff. It's all going to my memoirs, so it's a shame.
Well, this won't be released for a while. Don't worry.
That's all right.
Your memoirs will go first, and you'll get the big bucks, and you'll be famous, and it'll be great.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So I can tell you about this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he went to join the army. I don't know what age he was in the First War, and he went to France, and he was okay. He didn't. And then General Allenby decided to join. A Jewish regiment was built. A Jewish regiment was made up, was formed under General Allenby, and he joined that, and they went off to Egypt, and they weren't allowed to go to Palestine. The Jews weren't allowed to go. The Jewish, for some reason,
no Jews were allowed in Palestine.
The Jewish army never went.
Jewish army,
although the British army was in Palestine at the time. I mean, but it was the Jewish regiment never went there. So he was in Cairo, and he had a good time there, I think. And
sounds like fun, climbing pyramid. You can't do that now.
No, you can't do that now.
You get in big trouble. So okay. We were saying, so there's the fire wardens, the air raid wardens, and there was
everybody had to do something, and there was a special policeman. One of their jobs was to go to the station, well, the railway station, with some peculiar reason now, which I hate as an Americanism, I think. It's called the train. They call it a train station these days, which is absolute nonsense because a train station is where you keep trains. It's like a bus station where you keep buses.
Well, they stay there for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, they don't keep them there. A fire station is where you keep fire engines. A bus station is where you keep
What
buses.
do you call it then? A stop?
A railway station. Or a
railway station.
Or just a station. It was known as a station. But terrible expression, train station.
Well, if it's just a station, there could be other things. It could
All right, so it's a railway station. The railway runs through it. It's always there. The trains aren't. The trains are kept in sheds, railway sheds.
Then why that should be called the railway shed then? No, because there's no railways. A train shed.
A train shed, which is what they're called, but not a train station.
Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to make this change from this room. This is going to be a tough change to make.
No, the change has been made already. Everybody calls them train stations now, which always annoys me. But that's one of my idiosyncrasies, I'm afraid. I have these things.
You have a few.
I have a few.
You definitely have a few. I for sure have.
So where was I?
So
we're talking about stations.
Yeah. Why? It's really interesting to me. You said I just want to. So everyone felt like they had to do something.
I think they had to do something.
Yeah.
Not that they ever felt to it. I think it was almost. I don't know if it was a law, but so he used to go to the station occasionally.
Yeah.
And stand with the ticket collector.
Yeah. And
check people's. Everybody has an identity card.
Yep.
And check people's identity, make sure they were residents. Because if they weren't residents, they couldn't come into the town. Only army personnel and obviously neighbour and could come into the town because it was a restricted area. So
So the one you picked, the one you wanted to join was what was it called again? The reserves?
The Home Guard.
The Home Guard.
Dad's Army, that's the program.
Dad's Army, okay.
That's the program. Dad's Army.
Got it.
Very famous program.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it?
No.
You should watch it. It's very good
Dad's
fun.
Army. I'll watch it.
Yeah, and we was issued with a 303. That was a Lee Enfield 303, which was the first war run rifle. It's mostly, and we went on maneuvers and we did all sorts of things.
Were you not scared? Just even before you got into it, were you not scared? Didn't your parents, were they worried you would get injured or anything like that?
I think the very strange thing about it is that they took it all in somehow. I mean, my mother was a typical Jewish mother, but she didn't seem to worry about these things. I don't know. I mean, when we evacuated, we just went. There was I can't remember any emotional scenes. Just wave goodbye.
Yeah.
Cheerio, we're off.
Off to war, too.
Yeah, I suppose so, yes. I mean, so whatsoever.
So you got a 303.
So I'm in the Home Guard, and we did our drills, and we did we had our machine guns, and then I was eventually became a corporal machine gun instructor to Vickers machine gun, a great big thing with a belt feed.
The one that goes.
Yeah, that's right. But the only thing is that's
two hands.
In theory, that's what they did, but we didn't. I never fired the damn thing. Although I was an instructor, I knew how to take it to pieces. But I never fired because we didn't have the ammunition to spare. I only had about 2 or 3 bullets for my rifle because we were very short of ammunition at the time.
So what did you tell? You're like this. Expect this when you shoot the gun. What was your teaching? How did you?
So how to put it together, how to fire it.
Yeah.
How to carry it.
But you never fired it once.
And I actually never fired it. We also had later on the Sten gun.
Yeah.
Which was really a very
Sten. What is a Sten gun?
A Sten gun was like a machine gun, like a hand machine gun with a belt, also with a belt, and that had a little what do they call the things the bullets go in.
Ammunition package.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
And
cartridge.
that was made very cheap. I think if we were that more danger of using it than the people it was aimed at. But we were issued with one, so I had a rifle and a Sten gun at home in the cupboard. And what was I going to say? So that was the gun. And then we used to go on manoeuvres, and we used to march and do drills. And we had, one time we had a big manoeuvre. The Canadian Army was going to attack. The Canadians were the enemy, okay?
Okay.
The Canadian Army happened to be stationed around there, and they were regular proper soldiers.
Yeah.
And they were going to attack us. We were defending Gilling, which is the next town up the hill from Chatham. And we had a border barbed wire border around the town, and we were supposed to defend this. And then the Canadian infantry were going to attack us. And our headquarters was a local cinema, local super cinema up on the road. And we went into this trench, and we were supposed to, with our rifles, ready to shoot the attackers when they came. And the sergeant said to us, whatever you do, you don't shoot until I give the order. So we, I don't know what we have, must have blank cartridges or something. So I saw this soldier just attacking us, and I thought, well, I haven't been given the order of that. And he shot me, and I was dead, which actually wasn't bad, because then I could go back to the cinema and spend the rest of the evening sleep on the nice carpet upstairs in the cinema. So that was maybe I should have pulled the trigger. I don't know that.
Did anyone else shoot, or were you the only one?
I presume they did. I don't know.
Was the sergeant near you? Was he watching?
I don't remember. I really don't remember. That's all I remember is I didn't shoot. That's the only thing. And I was shot.
Did you get punished for being dead, or you just dead?
No, I was just dead. That was it.
That's it. Yeah, well, that's usually what it is. Yeah, you're just dead. That's it.
So that's it. So, and then after my time in the Home Guard, I joined the Air Force, and as I was shall I start telling you about the Air Force?
Yeah, go for it. Tell me whatever you want to say.
Right, yeah. When you were 18, you were either called up for the Army or you called up for the Air Force or for the Navy, whatever they decide to do with you. But if you wanted to, you could join the Air Force as aircrew. And to join the Air Force as aircrew, you had to volunteer. And
for the Army, you didn't have to volunteer?
Oh, no. you
pulled in.
That was it. You went.
Oh, boy.
You went. You got a letter in the post, and that was it. Or the Air Force or the Navy General. But to go, if you wanted to join as flying aircrew, you had to volunteer.
Yeah.
And I didn't fancy going to the Army. I didn't fancy going to the I wouldn't have minded the Navy, but
why didn't you want the Army?
Because you had to wear boots all the time. And I hated wearing boots. So if you were aircrew, I'm not the ordinary RAF.
Yeah.
But the aircrew had special privileges. First of all, they didn't have to wear boots.
Sounds like that's very important to you.
That was very important.
Yeah.
You wore shoes instead of boots. Not all the time. You had to wear boots for drilling. But most of the time you could wear shoes. Secondly, you had sheets on your bed, which the ordinary soldiers and airmen didn't have.
No sheets on their bed?
No sheets on their bed. We had sheets on our bed.
Where would you guys sleep?
Pardon?
Where would you sleep?
Well, with blankets.
I mean, where? Was it bunk beds?
In beds.
Yeah.
You know iron beds.
Yeah. Were you together with lots of other...
Oh, yeah, sure. There was a hut. You always slept in huts.
Oh, wow.
In huts with sergeant slept at one end and...
So far we have the benefits of no boots and blanket. That sounds pretty good.
And no boots. Sheets on the bed.
Sheets on the bed.
And after the first 6 weeks of basic training, you got 5 shillings a day instead of 3 shillings.
It's pretty good.
It was good, yeah.
Yeah.
So that were the three main reasons. And you had to choose what to be. And I wasn't particularly interested in being a pilot. I don't know why. All my friends wanted to be pilots.
Yeah.
I wasn't the least interested. I thought, well, I don't want to drive a damn thing. I want to navigate it. So I decided to become a navigator.
Okay.
So you had to go to Euston House near Euston Station, which was actually part of the Air Force in those days. And you had to be assessed. You had to take all sorts of tests to see what you were suitable. Mm-hmm. There were grades. There was what they called the P&B. That was pilot, navigator, bomb aimer, which you had to pass
navigator,
test to be in that group. That was a whole group. You had to be in that. And then there was, then if you didn't pass them, you could become a radio operator or an air gunner. So I managed to scrape through those tests, and I joined as PMB.
I heard you did pretty well on those tests. Did you do pretty well?
Well, I must have passed.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one. Thousands of people passed. You didn't have to be particularly expert. But mostly grammar school boys passed.
Uh-huh.
Mostly grammar school boys passed. And then you would... But don't forget, they had thousands. I mean, the Air Force, the air crew was, the casualties were very high. I'll tell you about it later. But so they had to have people in reserve ready to go in. So you were sworn in. So now I'm a member of the RFVR, which is called Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve.
Uh-huh.
But you don't actually go in and get a uniform yet. You're sent home, and they will eventually... When they needed you, they would call you up. So I went home and carried on my civilian life as an article clerk to a accounting firm.
How old were you at this point?
17.
17.
Yes. So I had to leave the Home Guard. I haven't told you about my accounting career, but I'll tell you about later. But I had to leave the Home Guard because I was now film and joined the Airforce cadets, which is another group that we had to train about. I don't know, we learned navigation. So anyways, we learned navigation, all sorts of other things. Yeah. And we used to drill and go to a special place and other people. The only thing I remember about that, there was one of the chaps there was a professional footballer who played for Torquay United. That's the only professional footballer.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused. So, okay, so what's the order of things, like groups you're a part of? So you volunteer, but you left that, and now you volunteered and you took your PNB test.
Yeah.
And you passed that test.
Yes.
And then you went to the training.
No,
okay.
Then you went home.
And you're in the reserves.
Yeah, so there were Air Force cadets.
Cadets, okay.
Which you could actually join if you wanted to instead of the Home Guard.
Yeah.
But I had to go into that because I was now part of the Air Force.
Yes, got it.
So I had to leave the Home Guard.
And join the cadets.
And join the cadets.
Got it.
And join them. So we used to, I don't remember what we did.
Yeah.
It was in the gym somewhere. But we used to go about 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know what we did. And I was also an article clerk to an accounting firm in London, which I used to go up and down on the train with every day.
Wow.
Interesting enough, I don't know what fares are now. 3 month telephone, a 3-month season ticket. That's for an hour's journey, 30 miles, was £13. Now it's about, I don't pay that, one day, I think, £13 for 3 months season.
It's got to be ridiculous. It's got to be a crazy 3 months for 13 miles. It's got to be a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
So you're a cadet.
I'm a cadet, Air Force cadet. Yes.
And you're going up and down on the train, and you're working.
I work in London, and there were air raids sometimes on the train.
Does the train stop when there's an air raid, or what happens?
We usually keep going, but once I was on a train, and what happened? I was in a train crash going back.
Train crash?
Yeah, we had a minor train, but that I don't know if it was anything to do with it.
Was it during a bombing or just a train crash?
Just a train crash. It was a minor crash. I think one person was actually killed.
Jeez.
And it was just outside Dartford, and we had to get out of the train and walk. So, that's the side of the point. I used to go up and down on the train with my every day to London. The 8:05 train to London. Those people didn't work so hard in those days. The bosses were coming later, and I used to 8:05 in the morning going up, and the 5:22 coming back. And
it's a decent day. You said 8 o'clock in the morning?
8 o'clock in the morning, getting to work 9:30, leave at 5 o'clock. Accountants don't work like that in these days. Now they work from 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, as my son-in-law does.
Really?
But those days things weren't so difficult. And what did I say?
And so
we're on the train going backwards and forwards to London. We had a group of people who used to be friends of mine. One was training to be an architect at the Regent Street Polytechnic. So that's my vague knowledge of architecture. I know that's why I can tell the difference between different types of columns and different types of
I can't do it. That's good. That's where I have no idea.
No. And also, two of them were medical students. One of them was a medical student, but he was very keen. He was dead. He became a very, very prosperous doctor afterwards.
Wow.
In Harley Street and everything. But he spent the whole of his time sitting in the corner studying. Sid G, his name was. And Sid G. He was slightly ahead of me at school. He was studying. The rest of us used to talk around, play cards and talk about my other friend, Henry Halpern, who was who was trainee architect at the Regent Street Polytechnic, which eventually became part of the University of London, which has not been. Regent Street Polytechnic was much nicer. It was in Regent Street, and he was a friend of mine from Chatham, and slightly younger than me. He knew he was going to be a big architect from the very beginning. He knew that he was going to be a top of the architecture, and in fact, he was. He became that, and he when he started up in practice, he took a little office in Gillingham, which is just near Chatham, an upstairs office, and he had one bloke working with him. And he started architectural practice, and he knew he was going to be big, and he was the architect, and his friend, who wasn't even qualified, was his chief architectural assistant. That's what he was known as. He was a young lad working.
Chief assistant?
Chief, there was nobody else. There's a little upstairs, the little upstairs office in Gillingham. That was why he was very, very, very ambitious. He did very well, actually. He had a big house with a ballroom.
Wow. So that's these 2 years. So when did it come that you were pulled out? Were you pulled out of the cadets to go into?
But eventually, I was in there for 18 months. 18 months before I was actually called up. And during that 18 months, of course, I was able to carry on with my accountancy studies. I was even able to take my intermediate examination, which was very lucky.
And these are the exams you have to take to become an accountant.
Yes. So we went to a school. It was in the middle of the winter. We went to a school called Highley, somewhere in Essex, somewhere, a boarding school. It was freezing cold, and we took our intermediate exam there. And then after that, I was called into the Airforce, and they sent a letter, I don't know how, and it was my time to go in. And it was on June the 10th, 1944. It was actually 4 days after D-Day. You know what D-Day was?
That's like the Victory Day, right?
No. D-Day was the day that, June the 6th, 1944, was the day when the Allied armies went across the Channel to France, to attack France, to go to Normandy. And he used to say to me that, my wife used to say to me that when Hitler joined on the Air Force, Hitler knew I joined the Air Force. He decided that was the end of him, so he gave up the war. So anyway, it was D-Day.
I'd be scared of you too.
So it was June the 10th, and we went to St John's Wood, because more or less the whole of Regent's Park was taken over by the Air Force for aircrew training. Lord's Cricket Ground was taken over, lots of blocks of flats, and the block of flats to the north of Regent's Park, which I can't quite remember the name of, we were stationed in there, and we had a nice flat on the top floor, my group, and of course we did our drilling, and that's where we did basic training. Drilling and shoot rifle training and all that sort of thing. And
you were allowed to use the bullets and to practice shooting.
I don't know if we did either. I think we did once or twice.
Once or twice.
I don't know.
Amazing.
We may have done. And we did our basic training there, basic drill training. And
what were the drills? Like what? Like marching?
Marching, and yes, we had to march in big. The strange thing was that we had to march in big groups, do drilling and all sorts of things. And we had a nice flat, beautiful flat, our group on the top floor. I don't think we had the decent beds that they had there. That's where we were. And we had to do fire watching. You know what fire watching is?
No.
We had to go on the tops of buildings to look out for bombs. So if any fire bombs hit the top of the building, we had to have our little buckets and put the fire bombs out. Not those, but one beautiful summer's day, which was, I'd only been in the Air Force for a few days. I think it was the 16th of June. We saw the bombers coming over. The German bombers were coming over, and
did you see them first, or did you hear the sirens?
I'll tell you the story. In the distance, we saw these German bombers coming over, very small bombers, and of course there were anti-aircraft guns all around London, and there were barrage balloons. You know what a barrage balloon is? A barrage balloon is a big static balloon on the end of a wire, which was supposed to stop the bombers coming through. And there were anti-aircraft guns. And we saw these planes coming. It was a beautiful, beautiful summer's day. We see it, June. And the aircraft and the anti-aircraft guns were firing out. We see little puffs of smoke in the air. And suddenly, we saw one of them dive. And we thought, that's good, they shot it down. And then we saw others diving. And what they were the V1s. We didn't know. We thought they were bombers, but they weren't. They were the flying bombs. And when we thought they'd been hit, they were deliberately falling down to bomb. Have you heard of the V1s?
No.
Well, the V1s were the first flying bombs. They were little rocket planes which flew from France, across the Channel and up to London, and then they were programmed to dive and bomb. They were bombs, actually, flying bombs.
Flying bombs. So
what we thought were bombers being shot down were actually flying bombs.
Wow.
So that we called the V1s. That was the first day the flying bombs came over. After that, we knew what they were. And they were the V1s.
So was that a bad day then, I guess? Because they
obviously.
Yeah.
They weren't very nice.
Yeah.
They were flying all over. And, I used to see them flying past and dropping.
You can't shoot them down, right?
What we used to know was what everybody used to know is, so long as the engines were going, they had the funny engines. So long as the engines were going, we knew we were okay because they were going to fly past you. If the engine stopped, you were in trouble. If it was above you and the engine stopped, you were in trouble because you know it was going to drop on you. That was the V1s. And then later on, they had the V2s. You've heard of the V2s with Werner Braun, the German rocket scientist, who later on, after the war, was instrumental in rocket planning for.
Wow.
He was interested in the rocket planning in America. He designed this V2, which flew off from a place called Peenemünde in Holland, and this was actually a rocket. It was the first rocket. It was actually like a rocket ship. And they were silent, and they just came over and they did a lot of damage. So, in fact, your grandmother's great aunt was killed by the last one of those.
Wow.
That fell on flats in the East End of London. Last day.
Did England ever get those? Did we have any flying bombers or no? The V1s or V2s?
No, I don't think we did. No, but they. Oh right, and then I went to the Air Force. I was already in the Air Force. So no, why I say that is because we were talking about drills.
Yeah.
We were no longer allowed to drill in large numbers in case if a bomb fell on us, a lot of people would be killed.
Yeah.
So they had very small groups of airmen training and doing their training, and so it was much nicer. But we had to move from our beautiful flat on the top floor to crowded flats down in the bottom where there were more protected air raid shelters. So it was unfortunate. Then what? We did our basic training there. You want to know what happened there after that, I presume?
You're
going to ask me questions, or we're just going to carry on?
I could listen to you talk forever. I'm just interested in what's so when.
Wait. This is. Excuse me. I do tend to forget things.
Me too.
And the reason we were there at St. John's Wood, I'm sorry, we weren't just there to do our basic training. We were there to be tested to see what we would become, whether we become a pilot, a navigator, or a bomb aimer, or a radio operator or air gunner. We took over. We had all the flats in John. One of the very fancy flats was a medical centre, but Lord's Cricket Ground, which we also took over. The Air Force took over.
It was we, yeah.
Yeah, was where they did the tests, and we had to go there for tests, 2 or 3 days of tests.
Yeah.
And obviously, I didn't want to become a pilot. I wanted to become a navigator. So I did the tests, and we had various different tests, and they decided I wasn't going to be a navigator. I was going to be a bomb aimer. So that was my training, was to be a bomb aimer. Mm-hmm. Because they had these little, like a cylinder that revolves around with buttons on it.
Yeah.
You had to touch it with, they had these in fairground to see how many buttons you could touch. Apparently I did very well at that.
And so you were a bomb aimer. You weren't what?
A bomb aimer.
Yeah.
The training was the same as a bomber. The basic training was the same for pilots, bomb aimers, and navigators.
So you weren't a navigator. You were a bomb aimer.
Then later on.
Later on, you're a navigator.
I'll tell you about that later. And we were sent off to a place called Bridgnorth.
Okay.
Which is near Wolverhampton in Shropshire. And we did our 6 weeks. 6 weeks? Could it only be 6 weeks? Yeah, well, 6 weeks. 6 weeks training there. It was like a school. We had the officers who taught us were actually school teachers. We had this geography teacher was pretty good at teaching navigation, etc., etc. And we had a special book which was, we had to learn obviously navigation. We had to learn meteorology. We had to learn all the rules of the Airforce, how to send signals, how to order people around, because they know we were going to become sergeants or officers. Mm-hmm. So we had to learn how to do discipline. We had to learn meteorology was lovely. We had to learn about stars. We had to learn aircraft recognition. We had actually started off, first we had a parade in the morning, breakfast and a parade. Mm-hmm. Then 8 o'clock we started lessons. 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock lessons. And then had lunch. And I presume from 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock we had lessons, 8 hours lessons a day.
Wow.
And then we had to go back to our huts and do our homework and study and that sort of thing. And in the middle we had drills and training, well, not what they call gymnastics, what are they called?
Aerobics?
Not aerobics, no, training.
Weightlifting?
Whatever they call it. What's it called generally?
When you do what?
Physical training.
Physical training. Yeah.
We had to run around and climb walls and do what they call it, up and down through
push-ups.
No, going through barriers and over walls.
Obstacle courses and stuff.
Courses,
yeah.
All that sort of thing. And strangely enough, I would never consider myself too much. I always considered myself a bit of a not very athletic, rather, but I've been managed quite well those things. I could climb over walls, I could even run with boots on, which I didn't think I could. Because with the school, I was absolutely hopeless at gymnastics. I'm completely useless. I was the worst runner in the school.
Worst runner?
Pardon?
What'd you say you were the worst at? The worst?
We had middle school had a cross-country run.
Yeah.
At my school. And I was next to last out of 200 or 150 boys. And the reason I wasn't last, because the chap who was running in front of me thought he'd passed the winning, who was next to last, thought he'd passed the winning post, so he stopped running. So I was next to last. I was a very bad runner. But when I joined the Air Force, strange enough, I could run. I don't know, it's very odd.
Yeah.
Very odd. I couldn't drill.
No.
I could not drill. For some reason, I have no, what's it called? Coordination.
Coordination?
No, I just could not drill. I don't know. We had to do drills. We had to, and we even had to take drills. In other words, order the drills.
Yep.
And I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't.
And these are the drills like marching,
big parades, and that sort of thing. And my sergeant, who was he was a nice chap, although he shouted a lot, but he used to say to me, he said, Gergel, he said, when we go to the big parade, he said, perhaps you don't mind saying not going on the parade.
Oh, boy.
So I used to spoil the whole drill. I could get it wrong. So I'd turn left, I'd turn right. I couldn't automatically do what they told me to do. It's very strange.
Did they yell at you when you did like, Gergel, what are you doing? During it? And they said, focus up?
I took on. I didn't care.
You didn't care?
I don't think so. I was so pleasant about it. So we had to work. We had to work every day, 8 hours a day, studying in the evening, drills and parades in between, and we had 1 day off a fortnight to go home. And we wanted to. So it's hard work, but it was interesting. Nice chaps, very nice people.
Did you have to take like a final test to get,
Yeah, we had to pass it. I did very well my navigation test, actually. Somebody told me I got 100%. I don't believe it.
I believe it. So you passed the test.
I passed all the tests.
You passed all the tests. You went through the training.
And that was it.
And
then we were supposed to go on flying training, right?
Yep.
The next thing was to go to Canada or South Africa or somewhere like that and go on flying training. But there was a long wait because, as I said before, the casualties were so high, they had to have plenty of people waiting to be trained.
Mm-hmm.
So
the casualties were so high when you were part of the bombers?
Bombers, yes. Yeah. Bombers. We were in bomber command, but we didn't. So they had to wait to do our flying training, which I never did. So they sent us off to do all sorts of other jobs in the Air Force. They sent us, the first place I went to was Scampton in Lincolnshire. It was a very, very famous bomber command station. In fact, it was a station that Guy Gibson, who did the Dam Busters. You heard of the Dam Busters? I honestly never heard of the Dam Busters.
I don't know. I gotta watch 2 shows now. There's 2 shows I need to watch.
Dam Busters. Well, they had this chap invented this bomb which would fall on the dams in Germany.
Yeah.
And break they had to skip along the surface of the dam, and eventually they'd hit the wall of the dam at the end. Barnes Wallis, that was his name.
Barnes Wallis.
He was a very famous scientist, a physicist. He worked out you drop these bombs, these big cylinders, right? They were like big cylinders of explosives, which they were called the bouncing bombs. They would drop.
Bouncing bombs.
The plane would fly, the anchors, the bomb would fly over.
Yeah.
I mean, people know about this. I mean,
I think I've heard of bouncing bombs before.
So they would drop on the surface of the dam.
Yeah.
Roll up to the dam wall, and then explode, and burst open the dam walls.
Wow.
And these were in the Ruhr, which was the big manufacturing area of Germany, where they'd mined all the armaments, and they would burst and the water would flow down and drown all the munition factories in the Ruhr, okay? Which actually did work. But Guy Gibson was the
Guy Gibson,
very famous pilot who ran the Dam Busters. That was from Scampton. That was before I was there. When I was there, it was a bomber base, and we had to do odd jobs. And I was attached to the armourers. And what the armourers did, we had to go out before the raids and go out to dispersals. You see, the bombers weren't equipped in one place in case of bombing, in case of being attacked. So they were called dispersals. So each bomber had except one or two bombers were in these dispersals. And we had a hut there where the armourers used to sit. And before the raids, obviously the night raiders, so we used to do in the daytime, we'd bomb up the plane. So our job was the planes were there, and we had the bombs were brought around by tractors and trolleys to the dispersal.
Okay.
The bombs were brought on trolleys, and our job was to fix the bomb gear to them at the what they call brackets. I can't remember what they're called now. They're like a long metal with arms at the end that held the bombs. Held the bombs in place to the hook on. And that had to be hooked, placed on the bomb.
Okay.
And then our job was to have what they call a winch. So we had to go up into the plane. With these winches, were quite heavy, and then draw the bombs up
into the plane.
Into the bombs. What's the bomb place called? Bomb
hatch.
Bomb hatch. Yes. Bomb. Yes. Into the bottom of the plane, and fix the. What were the damn things called? Held the bombs in place.
It's it's something that would wrap around the
bomb harness. It was
bomb harness.
Whatever it was, it had a hook on it.
Yeah.
It had a hook, which held the actual hook off the. It was it's like it's a harness. It was a long thing with legs at either end, which holds the bomb steady. And a hook in the middle to fixing the hook on the. Fixing the hook on the top of the bomb. Yeah. And that fixed on the hook on the...
Inside
the plane, in the bomb area.
Hatch. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, God, what was it called? It's ridiculous.
It's okay,
Bombay. Bombay.
Bombay.
Bombay. So we had to go up into the plane with these winches. Which I can't remember how they worked. I suppose they're electric. And we had to pull the bombs up into the bomb bay and fix the hook that held the thing in place on the bomb bay. And there were two hooks, one to hold the bomb in place and one to hold the pin on the propeller in the front of the bomb. Because the propeller in the front of the bomb was a little propeller which would go around, which was hiding the charge at the front, the explosive charge, what was it called? What's it called? Well, it doesn't matter. What it was called, that was explosive. And that would set off the big explosive. So as soon as that hit the ground, that would go off like a cap. And there's a little explosive in there.
Would set off the big explosion.
And set off the big explosive. And so that if you drop the bomb, when you were playing around with it, loading it, it didn't go off. It had a little propeller. A little propeller in the front with a cap on, which when the bomb dropped, the propeller would spin and charge the ignition.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
So there was actually inside the bomb, there was the propeller. and you had the pin.
In the front of the bomb.
The front of the bomb is the propeller, and then the front of the bomb.
And there's all the explosives in the back of the bomb.
The back of the bomb. So when the plane actually drops the bomb, it pulls out the 2 pins.
It pulled out the pin from the. No, 1 pin.
1 pin, the propeller pin.
It was attached to the harness.
Yeah.
That pulled out the propeller pin, so the propeller was free.
And then the propeller would spin
in the wind.
And it charges this fuse.
It didn't charge it, it fell off.
Yeah.
And now the cap at the beginning, what it's called, the ignition.
Yeah, the ignition charge, the initial charge.
So when that would go off, it hit the ground.
Wow.
So that was, and the big hook at the back, which held the bomb, obviously was released by the bomb aimer.
Yeah.
When you pressed the button, that would let go of it. So that was so our job was to
load the
bomb. And the bombs came along on the trolleys. They're all different sizes. There were 500 pounders of incendiary bombs and 500 pounders, 1,000 pounders. And the big one was called the cookie.
The cookie. How big was the cookie?
That weighed 1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds.
That was 1,000 pounds.
That's crazy.
But the ones we had to be careful with, 4,000 pounds.
4,000.
4,000 pounds, I'm sorry. 4,000.
2 tons.
Yes, 4,000 pounds. There were bigger ones as well. There was a sergeant, which was twice the size of that.
8,000 pounds?
8,000 pounds.
Oh, my God.
And there was an even bigger one, which was 12,000 pounds. And the planes that took those up had to fly with the bomb doors open because you couldn't
fit.
Because they couldn't fit inside the Lancaster. They had to have to fly with the bombs open. Couldn't fit. There was room for it. Right. So the cookie, which was the 4,000 pounders, and there were small ones, 500 pounds, the 250 pounders. But the ones we had to be careful of were the 1,000 pounders because they were made in America. And they weren't very stable. The rest were made here. They were fine. You could do what you like with those. You could throw them around, drop them on the ground. They wouldn't. But we were told, be careful with the 1,000 pound ones. They were made in America. If they fell on the ground, they could explode on their own without the explosive charge. So we had to be very careful with the 1,000.
How dare you insult America in this?
That's what we were told. That was true. And
but it was true.
They came along on the trolleys, and we loaded up the aircraft. And then after that would come the trolley acts. You know what a trolley act is? You never go what a trolley act is. It was a trolley full of batteries, car batteries.
Yeah.
And why did we do them? What were they for?
I have no idea. Car batteries.
Because lorry batteries were car batteries, they're like car batteries. It was brought along by a tractor. And everybody said, 2-6 on the trolley. That 2-6 meant you had to go and help push it around. Once they
2-6.
2-6 on the trolley. We all had to go along and push it towards the aircraft.
Yeah.
Why did we push it towards the aircraft?
I have no idea. Pushing car batteries towards an aircraft? I have no idea
towards the Lancaster bomber.
Would it push away? I have no idea.
Right.
I'm thinking magnets, but no.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Charging? No, there's wireless charging wasn't a thing then. No, yeah.
Why was it there? I'll tell you. Because the batteries in the bombers had to be looked after, and they weren't that strong. Especially before once they'd flown a lot, the batteries were strong, but they weren't very strong. So what we had to do was, the pilot had to attach these batteries to the plane to start the engine.
Wow.
Because the batteries in the plane.
Because it's like if you leave your car on for too long.
Like if you leave the car off charge, you had to have batteries to charge it.
Wow.
So there's all these big trolley full of about 20, I don't know how many large batteries, all presumably linked in series to give a big charge.
Yep.
There to start the engines of the Lancaster bomber. So as you go onto each engine, and start it up with a trolley act.
And this would be before they take off and go.
Before they flew off, before they took off, either for training flights or for bombing.
Yeah.
So that was when we sat. It was the middle of the winter, and we used to sit in these huts, the armourers and us, who were helping them.
Uh-huh.
And the one in charge was the corporal armourer, and we had to sit round a stove to keep us warm. It was very cold that winter,
Mm-hmm.
and what they used to do for amusement, of course, they had to charge up. They also had to load the machine guns with
ammo and stuff.
With bullet charge. What they called the big ones were called something else. The bigger bullets were called something else. I can't remember. And what they used to do for fun, for amusement, was open up these bullets and take the little bits of cordite out. Cordite was the thing that set off the explosive to charge the bullet.
Yep.
And take these bits of cordite out and throw them on the fire to burst and jump around like fireworks. That's one of the amusements. And also the other amusement.
Did the ammo still work after that or no?
No, there were plenty of bullets. They didn't get thrown away. I think so.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were bullets didn't. I don't know why they did.
Yeah.
And the other amusement was to have, there were always bits of Perspex lying around. Perspex?
No.
There's a plastic.
Okay.
Which they used to make the windshields of the planes are made of Perspex, very strong plastic.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they're always breaking these windshields. There were bits of this Perspex lying around, so we used to carve up, make model airplanes out of this.
You make model airplanes out of the plastic that made the windshield of the plane. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. So you're here. You're done the training. You're loading the bombs on the planes.
And we were sitting around there, and that's one of the jobs we
Yeah.
had. And then we were stationed there, and we used to have one of my jobs was to go with one of the planes. No, it was another air station. I was one plane unfortunately crashed coming in, and we had to go and be a
rescue crew.
No, we had to go and watch it all night. So stand by to what they used to call them. I can't remember what it's called. There had to be a guard. The guard used to guard the plane when it crashed. It wasn't very nice. It was a very nice thing to do, but.
You had to guard the plane that was crashed?
Well, because there were bombs on it, and there were,
okay.
Obviously, bodies in there as well.
Yeah.
There were bodies in there as well. We came back from the mission and crashed. Well, right, that was my job on that station.
Yeah.
Then we went to another station called Bimbrook.
Okay.
Also in Lincolnshire,
Mm-hmm.
near Grimsby.
Okay.
And there, my job was there. It was in the parachute room.
Okay.
So we had to store the parachute. We didn't hang. I wasn't a parachute folder because that was a very skilled job.
Parachute folder, very skilled job.
Yeah, to fold the parachutes up. But our job was to like a cloakroom, to hand out the parachutes to the aircrew when they came round and take it back from those who returned, who weren't as many as went out, unfortunately. Usually about 6/7 of them. 1 in 7 was usually lost.
Really?
Average.
Wow.
1 in 7. Usually out of each flight, each raid, each mission.
Yeah.
And they had to do, I think it was about 10 or 9 missions. Each one, if it was called a mission. And if they were lucky, they got through the 10. Very lucky.
1 in 7 chance. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And we had to hand out the parachutes to them. And it wasn't very nice. There one of the planes crashed coming back from a raid. Wasn't unusual. That was my job, and we were stationed near Grimsby. You heard of Grimsby? Grimsby is a fishing town.
Okay.
Was a very important fishing town then. I don't think it is now. We on our day off, we would go down to Grimsby, and there were air-sea rescue boats. Air-sea rescue boats. Well, when if the planes crashed in the channel, on the way out or on the way back from planes, the air-sea rescue boats were like a torpedo boat, similar size, and like an ambulance boat, and would go out to rescue the planes crashing.
Yeah, when they crash in the ocean.
Pull the pilots out. And they were stationed there in Grimsby, and on our day off, on one of my days off, I went down there and asked if we go for a ride in the rescue boats. They took, because we were in the Airforce in uniform. They said, yes, you can come out with us on parole. On my day off. So. Oh, God, it was terrible. I think I spent my whole time lying in one of the bunks on one of the stretchers. I was so sick. It was,
really? You're seasick?
Oh, terrible.
What a day off.
A day off. Other day off.
Why did you want to go on the boat?
Well, I like to go for a ride.
A little ride around the sea and stuff like that?
On the sea, yeah. On one of their patrols. And another day off, I would go across they had a ferry to go across the river to the Humber River. To... Gosh.
I don't know any of these places, so it's okay. You'd go on ferries to
the big town on the other side. It was Yorkshire. Yorkshire was the other side of the town, which was a town called, very famous, stupid, I forgot the name of it. Hull,
like the hull of a ship.
Like the hull of a ship, which was unique in one respect, and still is. They had their own telephone service. That was the only town in the country that didn't join it wasn't joined up the GPO.
They had their own that's strange. Could you call them from outside the town then, or no?
Oh, yeah, they had their own telephone service. I don't know why. Hull, now they've built a bridge across from Grimsby across the river Hull. But there was no bridge. There was a ferry. So how old are you at this point when you're on these different are you still 18? Are you 18, 19?
18, 19, yeah.
And what happened then? The next job, went back to anybody, Syerston. There was another Airforce town, Airforce airplane in Nottingham, near Nottingham, on the River Trent. On our days off there, we'd gone through the River Trent. It was very nice. And what they were doing there, this must have been after the war, when the Berlin was surrounded by the Russians. Russians took over Berlin first. Until it was then later on the English, British, and the French had a third each of Berlin. In that first time, it was just the Russians who had Berlin. And they wouldn't allow, for some reason or other, they had the whole of East Germany, and they wouldn't allow supplies to be brought to Berlin from the west by road. So it was the Berlin airlift. You heard?
Yeah, I've heard it. It's very cool. Talk about it, because I think it's so cool.
The Berlin airlift, and what they were doing at that Syerston Air Force was loading up planes for the Berlin airlift with food and all sorts of things for the army that was in Berlin and for the civilians and the British army that was there. Was there. But they didn't give me that job. As I was trained to be an accountant, they set me off to do the audit of the officers' mess accounts. That's what I did then.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what your training was doing.
So that's my job there.
Yeah.
Then what did I do then? Oh, yes, then one day somebody came around. Anybody want to volunteer to go for a job in the Air Ministry of London, in London? So naturally, I jumped at the chance.
Yeah. The what of London? The what of London? The ministry?
Air Ministry.
Air Ministry, yep.
The Air Ministry had worked in London. That was part of the government.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
One of the ministers.
Okay, we're coming back. We're coming back from a little bit of a break there. Just, let's whip out the scotch as well. I think it's time. We don't have to drink it. I'm just gonna bring it out and put it in front of us. So you were. What was the next? So the next job.
Right. Okay. We're on parade, and somebody says, one of the officers comes along and says, anybody want to volunteer to go and work in London? So naturally, I did. I volunteered, among a few other people, and they said, so long as you can find somewhere to stay, you can go and work in London. So my aunt's, it was in Kilburn where our work was, in Kilburn, and my aunt lived in Wembley. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
My aunt lived in Wembley, and I gave him a ring.
Mm-hmm.
I'll divert. I said I gave him a ring.
Yep.
I go back to Bridgenorth.
Yep.
Where I did my initial training. I wanted to phone home. In those days, phoning home was not what it is now. There was a long queue. We had to wait for an hour outside the one telephone box.
Wow.
In the middle of the camp.
You had to wait an hour to make a phone call.
Well, maybe hour to make a phone call.
That's crazy.
To go phone Ed. And there were not many people had phones, so if everybody had phones, it would be. I divert. Sorry about that.
No, it's interesting.
Oh, back again.
Yeah.
Back to where was I?
You were on your third.
I was in my it was where I was stationed. Then I volunteered to go back to London. I rang my aunt and said, "Can I come and stay with you when I'm working in Kilburn?" And they said, "Yes, fine." So I went back and stayed with my Auntie Rosie, in her house in Wembley Park.
Mm-hmm.
And the Airforce gave me a bike, and I cycled into Kilburn every day.
Yep.
To work in the Air Ministry. So that's my one experience of being a civil servant.
Yeah.
It was very odd. There were all the different ranks, clerical officers, senior clerical officers, and all that sort of thing. We were in a convent, which was just off Maida Vale, and I worked in I was obviously not a very high position, and my job was to pay for chimney cleaning in all throughout the Airforce. So I had to,
chimney cleaning.
I think it was 4p a chimney.
Wow.
So I had to pay. I can't remember what I did.
Yeah.
There was another job. I can't remember what the other job was. And we were in the finance section. I had to authorize chimney cleaning throughout in all the huts and the stoves in the huts and whatever. I think it was 4p a window cleaner.
Wow.
Or something like that. I had another job. I had authorised something else, so I can't remember what that was. And that was my job there in the Air Ministry. And the cleric officer, senior cleric, executive officer, there was a big noise. The big noise was the executive officer.
The executive, fancy. That's at
well,
least
the senior clerical officer, he was my immediate boss.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very nice man, as far as I remember. But it was okay, and I lived with my aunts in Wembley, and cycled in every day.
Wow.
And occasionally went home to Chatham on leave at the end of the week.
That's nice.
That was it. And then what else did I do? Oh, yes. Another job, they sent us to Ashbourne. It's in Derbyshire. Beautiful place. Derbyshire, right in the Ashbourne. It's the where the complete gardener was. Complete fish or whatever. Angler.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac Walton's Complete Angler was written on the river there. whatever what it's called. And our job there was loading, believe it or not, tins of condensed milk. I can't remember what we did in that factory. It was Nestle's factory.
Nestle, yeah.
Making condensed milk.
Oh.
And all I remember, I don't know what job we actually did. I suppose we were loading them into pallets, if they had pallets in those days, or onto lorries, which was considered war work. Why it was considered war work, I don't know.
Don't know.
But anyway, it was tins of condensed milk. And then at lunch hour, we would sit on top of this pile of tins of condensed milk and open one or two tins and help ourselves.
That's funny.
To condensed milk. It was lovely to drink. Very nice.
Can you drink the condensed milk?
It's lovely. Have you tasted it?
Yeah, it sounds kind of nasty.
It's very sweet and lovely.
Really?
It really is lovely. Yeah, very good.
Drink, oh.
It wasn't. Maybe I wouldn't like it now.
It's like thickener now, I think it's thickener now and stuff like that. Thickener, it makes things more thick.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. So what?
Maybe they used to send it away to, it was a way of getting nourishment to the troops.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. I'm trying to think.
It's very, very high in calories, obviously.
Yeah, I guess it's packaged into small containers, so it's easy to kind of get there.
I think those are all the jobs I...
So when did you become...
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But not become what?
Am I jumping too far ahead? The Navigator.
I never did.
Not become, but did you were...
The war finished too soon.
Yeah.
So... we did our training. I was trained in navigation.
Yes, that's what I did.
But never did the flying training.
Yeah.
So right, after that, we're still in the Airforce. I've been in now for a couple of years.
Yeah, 2-3 years, yeah.
And nothing had happened, and I've been running around. And they said, well, you better find you a job to do permanently in the Airforce.
Yeah.
No, you don't just jump me around once. By the way, our basic training, our basic place, we moved from job to job. We always went back to Manchester, which was our base, Heaton Park, Manchester.
Okay.
And when I was at Heaton Park, Manchester, I used to go and visit a nice Jewish family every Friday night. Took them to shul.
That's
Heaton
nice.
Park, called the Holy Law Shul, and very nice people. Anyway, so we eventually got back to Heaton Park. I said, what are we going to do with you? So we had to find a job. So what would you like to be? I said, one thing I don't want to do is to go into the pay department and be a pay clerk. I didn't want to do that. I want to do something different.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, sorry, I'm going back again. I'll tell you one of the other jobs I did.
Yeah.
This is the best job I had in the Airforce. We went to a place called Moreton Valence.
Okay.
Just south of Gloucester.
Okay.
And there my job was in the motor, in transport.
Transport.
And it was a nice job there. They said, when I got there, they said, well, can you drive a lorry? I said, no.
Yeah.
Well, have you passed a driving test? I said, no, but I can drive, because nobody took a driving test during the war. But I was a driver. I'd had to learn to drive, and I drive a lot. So can you drive a lorry? I said, no. They said, well, get in and try. So I get in a lorry and drove it. And I said,
get in and try.
So I drove it, and they said, well, you're all right, you passed. It's very easy.
No driving tests? No tests?
That was my test.
That was the test. Okay, very important. Yeah, very official.
Yeah, so they said, get in a lorry, this big 3-ton Bedford lorry. Most beautiful vehicle I've ever driven. It's lovely to drive.
A truck? A big lorry?
Big 3-ton lorry, yes. It's lovely to drive because you sit up high.
Yeah.
And you're Lord of the universe. You are
Lord of the universe.
You're the king of the road.
Yeah, no one wants to mess with that.
Nobody wants to do anything to you.
Yeah.
And it's nice and high and it's comfortable. So they said, well, that's one of your jobs. I used to go and pick up coal and bring it. I didn't do any work. I just sat and drove.
Yeah.
And the Royal Air Force Regiment did all the nasty jobs like loading the rubbish on the back and picking up coal. And I had to back this lorry out to a tiny, tiny little hole where they used to push the coal through to load the coal. And I just sat in the front. And what else did I do? Then sometimes I drove the station commander's car, which was a Hillman Minx.
Wow.
Hillman Minx. And other times I drove the ambulance. I drove the ambulance, I drove the stationary commander's car. I drove the Bedford lorry, which was a lovely car to drive. And then I drove we had Dodge lorry. Excuse me, American. There again, American. Useless bloody things they were. These Dodge lorries, they had gears up, horrible gears they had on them, and they wouldn't start. They'd never start in the morning. So we obviously had started with a starting handle. Well, the Bedford lorries, you just turn the handle, they started. These damn Dodge lorries were hopeless. And you had to, what we did in the end was to light a fire underneath them to get the damn thing to
light a fire?
Yeah, light a bonfire underneath the engine to get it warmed up enough to start it up.
That's crazy.
But it worked.
Poor American engineering.
Oh, useless.
I think I just have to stand here and take this. I can't fight against the American. I have to, I'll support them. I'll support them later. So anyway. Yeah.
So that was my best job in the Air Force. I loved that.
Your favorite job?
Yeah, and we used to sit, and one of my jobs was to sit by there was a little old petrol station, a civilian one, which we took over for the Air Force.
Wow.
And what else did I do there? Oh, that's the first thing did they have bombers there? No, I'll tell you that was my first flying. I'll tell you that later. So we used to pump to fill out the vehicles. We did one of the old-fashioned petrol pumps with a turn handle. You had to turn a handle to load the
pump it.
Pump it. And they had an old Rolls Royce there, a pre-war Rolls Royce, standing out the front, which was just there, somebody left it there. And if I should have bought it from it, it would have worth a fortune now.
I bet. So you did that job, and then
I didn't tell you my first when I was at a place near Grimsby, Bimbrook.
Yeah.
Oh yes, what we could do there on our day off, or maybe not on our day off. We used to go along the practice. The bombers used to go off on practice runs, and I'd never flown at all. So we used to go off to the flying hut and say to the officer in charge, "Can we go for a flight?" And that's the first time I ever flew. That's why my first flight was a Lancaster bomber. So
wow.
So they took us up, and we just sat on the end of the engineers. Flight engineer was another job, wasn't it? Yeah. We sat on the end of the engineer's bench, and but we just behind the pilot.
Yeah.
And we took off, and they did flying bomber try. They had little bombs, practice bombs, which they dropped on the marshes, on the Humber marshes. That was the Fens. That was called the Fens.
What was it like being on the plane?
Fun. It was all mud. There were mud flats.
Yeah. What was it like being on the plane?
Well, we had obviously a parachute.
Yeah.
We didn't have any. We were just sitting there, and I just sat behind the pilot, so we could watch what the
Was it exciting to be on the plane?
It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then they would do these. They would do avoidance training.
Yeah.
So they would suddenly dive. So they were being attacked. They would suddenly do a dive and a rise and that sort of. I used to fly. I remember being flown off my seat while I was just diving.
You're not seat belted in or anything?
No, we weren't seat belted in.
Yeah. So you just fly in the air when they dive down.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I suppose I must have had something, hold on something. Maybe I was attached. I can't remember. I was sitting on the end of the engineer's bench. I remember that. That's the only place there was spare. And this is my first. I flew a couple of times in Lancaster.
You flew?
Pardon?
You went up a couple times in the.
A couple of times in Lancaster. Yes, something to do with my time off. So it's nice.
So what was they were going to find a permanent position for you?
Right. Yeah. Fine. So what do you want to do? So the first thing is that transport. I wanted to be in transport. I loved that job. So what did they do? They made me a clerk. So they made me a clerk. I thought, well, that's not bad. At least I'm not going to be a pay clerk, which is the one thing I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Clerk general duties. So they, I thought, well, that's very nice. I'll go to a nice Air Force station.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be sitting in the guard room as the clerk to these. But they didn't do that. They sent me to the RAF headquarters, headquarters in Gloucester, just outside Gloucester.
Yeah.
Between Innsworth, RAF Innsworth, to be a clerk. There was a very big clerical place.
Yeah.
Part of the Air Ministry.
Yeah.
And we had to, my job there was to allocate. We had to send people on various training things all over the country. So you had to pick out people and send them off to, we had to send out these things called signals, which was like before they sent out text.
Yeah, signals.
A signal. We used to go by teleprinter to the various, we were trained to do that and send out text.
Different signals.
So, 81 so-and-so has got to go somewhere to be trained as an engineer.
Yeah.
Engineer.
Yeah.
So our job was to allocate jobs. I did quite well at that, and they promoted me to corporal. So
wow.
I did quite well at that.
And was this the position you were in when the war ended? Was this the position you were in when the war ended?
That's right. Yes, my best friend was working with me.
Yeah.
And I was friendly with him, and.
Is this? Can I say his name? I think is his name Ken?
Ken Jones.
Ken Jones. Yeah.
Well, I was friendly for him for the next 60-odd years.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were always in contact. We always corresponded. I even went up to visit him sometimes.
Wow.
Even after I was married, we went up together.
And Auntie Tanya was telling me about a story about Ken Jones. I forget the story.
The story is this.
Yeah.
After I was promoted to corporal. He was a LAC. He was never promoted to corporal, and we. In the end, the Air Force decided that as we've been in the Air Force all that time, and we hadn't done our courses to be our flying crew, we were really due to become sergeants. So they promoted us all to sergeants.
Well, that's nice.
So we're all promoted. As long as you'd reached the rank of LAC or corporal, which I had, they promoted us to sergeants, which is very nice being a sergeant, because you had a special room to sleep in.
That's nice.
And you go to the sergeant's mess to eat, which was very good, because you buy a nice glass of whiskey, a big one.
Bigger than that.
For $1.
Yeah.
Which was very good. And we were paid this princely sum of 50. As a corporal, I was paid 7 and 6 a day. As a sergeant, I was paid 15 shillings a day.
Wow.
It's
a big upgrade.
A lot of money. And on the day we were from... my friend Ken had a motorbike.
Yeah.
Which I used to sometimes go back to his family in Wolverhampton. He lived in Wolverhampton.
Okay.
To visit.
Okay.
I told you. One of my visits. We used to go back to his family in Wolverhampton to visit at weekends. I used to go to Stratford-on-Avon also quite frequently to see the Shakespeare Company. And one of his visits to Wolverhampton, where he lived, we used to go and watch the football matches. Football matches those days weren't what they are now. First of all, there was no separation of spectators.
Yeah.
It was very calm. There was no rowdiness. Very calm. Although they had big crowds, 40, 50,000.
Wow.
And we used to stand.
Yeah.
No seats. As far as I remember, there was no rowdiness. People go with their families, and there was no separation of spectators.
Fans. Wow.
Very similar in behaviour to
tennis?
My other favourite sport, which is American baseball.
American baseball.
Which is also a very friendly game, isn't it? There's no... Is it?
There are fights.
Not these days.
There's fights. There's definitely still fights in American baseball. Yeah, they have fights for sure. There's videos everywhere. Some people, they'll start fights in the train station. Sorry, I shouldn't use that word. In the train place.
Oh, really?
Where the trains go through, railway station.
Oh, well.
In the railway station,
really?
they'll have fight just because you're wearing a different jersey. Well, you're wearing a different jersey. Yeah, they'll start fights. Yeah, there's videos on the internet. Yeah, people are crazy.
There were nothing. Whole family used to walk, thousands of people walking home from the match. I never saw a sign of any rowdiness. Strange thing was, I was standing with my friends way up somewhere, and those days they had a very heavy ball, a
leather ball, yeah,
very heavy. And obviously the footballers paid about 15 shillings a week. Well, weren't paid very much, or 15 pounds. And I said to my friend, I saw the ball being picked into the crowd. I said to my friend, has the ball ever come anywhere near you? And at that second, as I said it, the ball came and hit me in the chest. Very unusual. But that's besides, not very interesting. Right, my Ken Jones, who I was friendly with, I say for the next 60 years I was friendly. We corresponded on that. Where was I?
Ken Jones, you visited him on the weekend. Yep.
So we were promoted to sergeant.
Yes.
And we went into town.
Yep.
On his motorbike into Gloucester.
Yep.
To celebrate.
Nice. Yeah, as you would.
And in those days I could drink beer. I can't drink a beer. And somehow or other, I managed to get through 7 or 8 pints of beer.
7 or 8 pints of beer.
I don't know how.
I don't know how you do that either.
I don't know how.
It's a big day. You're a sergeant.
I can't drink half.
Big day.
I can't drink half a pint now. But somehow, after the first pint, it just goes down.
Yeah. You're telling me. I know. I'm familiar. Well, I don't drink that much beer, but my brother, Harry,
It can happen. I don't know how.
It's a big day. You're a sergeant now.
I'm a sergeant now.
Yeah, you got to be able to drink 8 pints of beer. Yeah.
I'm earning 15.
Yeah, you got to spend that money on. Yeah, and
15 shillings a day.
If you can't drink 7 or 8 pints, you get demoted back to corporal.
Exactly.
Happens, yeah.
So I'm going back to. So it's an icy road, middle of the winter. We get on this motorbike. And we start.
After the pints of beer?
After.
Oh, no.
Yes. I'm on the pillion, he's driving. I thought, we got near the camp. I said, Ken, I better walk in. I better not drive.
Were you wearing a helmet?
Well, what's a helmet?
No helmet.
What's a helmet?
No special clothing or leather jackets or anything like that?
You're joking.
What were you wearing? Do you remember what you were wearing?
Yes, my uniform.
Your uniform. That's it.
That's it. So I said, Ken, they might be suspicious if we come in wobbling, 2 of us. You better go on your own, and I'll walk in. So we got off before we got to the camp. So that was my experience. My other experience with Ken Jones. When we were stationed somewhere else, on his birthday, maybe it was when we were there, and his birthday, his father sent him a bottle of rum on his birthday. Yeah. And somehow, between us, we managed to finish this bottle of rum.
Oh, no.
And for the next 40 years...
40?
40 years, I never touched...
40 years?
I never touched a drop of rum.
Oh, my God. So you never drank rum for 40 years after that. What was the event after 40 years that made you want to try rum again?
I don't know. When I did, I thought I couldn't go near it.
But were you sick from that night? That night? Yeah, I'd say so. But you guys didn't drive any motorcycles that night?
No, not that.
Good. I hope so.
No, we were back in camp. We drank it in camp.
So that's kind of that's really interesting. You did all these different jobs, and then the war was over.
Then we used to go home on the weekends. And, go back home to Kent, to Chatham, and go to London first, and then get the train back to Chatham. And there was somebody a bit enterprising. One of the sergeants or one of the blokes was enterprising, and he hired a coach. So for 7 shillings, we could go back from Gloucester.
That's pretty nice.
To London by coach.
That's nice
for the weekend.
So I'm going to back up a little bit, and this is maybe not as nice a fun question, but I'm just wondering because we know now what was happening, the Holocaust and the Hitler and with the Jews and the other minorities and stuff like that. But I'm wondering, when did you first hear about what Hitler kind of was doing to the Jews and the other minorities?
That's interesting. Yeah, because I can't remember exactly when it came out. It certainly came out, obviously, soon after when they were advancing through Germany.
Mm-hmm. But you didn't know during the war what was going on, right? In the camps.
We didn't know. Yeah. But somehow, I don't know how, it was no surprise to me whatsoever. I was not, obviously I was horrible and horrified. Mm-hmm. I wasn't shocked.
Not shocked.
Because we somehow knew. I don't know how, but I wasn't surprised. Mm-hmm. I was not the least surprised when it happened. It was very strange, but I remember not being surprised. I don't know if you know that your grandma was in Wheatstone, Stanmore, and the lady there, God, the name. Oh, isn't that terrible? I've forgotten her name. She was a survivor. Mm-hmm. She ran this Wheatstone women's Jewish group in Stanmore, and she was a survivor of the Holocaust. Yeah, and she was in Belsen.
Yep.
And the rabbi from Hendon. Mm-hmm. The rabbi from Hendon is terrible. These names.
It's okay. No worries about the names.
He was one of the first ones into Belsen. Mm-hmm. And he was shocked, obviously. And she was there. She was about 18 at the time. And one of the sergeants met her and fell in love with her. And they married.
Wow.
In Belsen.
Uh-huh.
God. She's a famous lady. Famous. They married in Belsen, and they made her a wedding dress out of a parachute silk. And she survived until the 90s. She only died a couple of years ago. Isn't it terrible? She was a famous lady.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Was ruthful.
So when did you first find out then? What was happening with like Hitler and
at that time?
At that time is when you found out. Yeah. Was it on the news?
Oh, of course it was on the newsreel. We didn't have television in those days, but the cinemas had news.
Yep.
Had news. You know about cinemas. Mm-hmm. Programs. You know about cinemas?
No, like theater, movie theaters and stuff.
Fun?
Like movie theaters. Yeah.
In those days, before the war and after the war, so there were no continuous programs like the cinemas now.
Yeah.
You had a session. An afternoon session, an evening session, and a later session. And each one, and there was always a B movie. Mm-hmm. There's a B movie and the leading feature, and there were newsreels and cartoons. The whole thing went through. Sometimes even an organ played.
Oh, fancy.
So the newsreels were the only way you could find out. To see what was going on was either in the newspapers or on the radio or newsreels in the theatre. So that was on the newsreel.
That's the only way to find out. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's for me, interesting. A question I had is, when did you do you remember like seeing the first TV, or like when you got your first TV? Do you remember that?
I can tell you about the first TV. I think it must have been, was it just before the war? I think it must have been just before the war. My parents had the shop in Chatham.
Yep.
And across the road was Jane F. Stone, the radio shop.
Okay.
They had all the shops, the whole area was, they had shops in every town. And we were friendly with one of the directors of this firm of radio shops, Barney Kaufman. And we used to go, and when he came to Chatham to supervise the shop, he used to come and see us. And we were friendly with the manager of the shop. And one day he invited us over to see the television. And we had to go to a room right at the back, darkened room, this enormous television set with a tiny screen about that big, in a darkened room.
How big was it?
What?
How big was this? The set, the TV set?
The set was the size of a cabinet. It was a
like
cabinet.
A fridge?
It was standing on the floor, a big...
wow.
What size? Like a desk?
A desk. That's crazy.
Big.
And tiny screen.
Tiny screen on the top. And I think we saw either was the cup final or the boat race. I can't remember the first
thing you saw on TV.
First time the boat race was televised on this time. That's the first time I saw television.
What'd you think of it?
Not much.
Not much?
In fact, when we were first married, I didn't want a television.
Really?
I just didn't want one.
Why?
We didn't have one. I didn't fancy it at all. But we didn't fancy a television. But my mother insisted, and before your dad was born, she insisted on buying us one. That was the first time.
So you got a TV.
Pardon?
So you got a TV at that point. Yeah.
Because when I watched the coronation was in. When was that? 53?
I have no idea.
53.
Yeah, 53, okay.
Well, I watched it in my mother's house with a friend.
And you had the TV.
She had a TV.
So we're gonna go broader now, a little bit broader. So TV you don't think had a big impact on you. What do you think was the biggest change? What invention do you think had the biggest change on the world, in your opinion, like during your lifetime?
In my life?
Yeah, in your life. What do you think was the biggest invention for the world, like that changed society?
Well, electronics, I suppose.
Electronics?
I suppose. That's changed everybody's lives, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't changed your life because you always live with it.
It's changing a little bit, but I grew up with it. Yeah.
You grew up with it.
Yeah.
Well, of course it is. It's changed everybody's life.
Yeah.
I mean, no question about it.
Yeah. What's your favorite invention? What's your thing that you like?
Oh, I love computers.
Computers?
I love computers.
I like computers too. I think those are cool.
Yes, I think it's and obviously, what was it called? Mobile phone.
Mobile phone. I think that's definitely pretty big. So let's go. So I want to go now to Grandma. I want to talk about Grandma a little bit. How did you meet Grandma?
You want the whole story?
Yeah, give me the whole story. We got time.
Right.
Yeah.
When we first came to London, we moved out from Kent.
Yep.
And the first weekend.
How old were you?
I was out of the Air Force.
Yeah.
1950. How old was I? 48. How old was I in 48? 24.
24.
The first weekend we moved in, my father bought this house in Golders Green, and their parents wanted us to move to London to be with Jewish people.
Yeah.
And the first weekend, a young man and a young woman, I suppose. The young man was Dennis Harris, and the other girl was Mildred Conway. Came to the house, said, "We've heard you've moved into the district. We are members of the Young Zionists. Would you like to join?" So my sister Beryl and I said, "Okay, we'll join." And we joined the FZY, the Federation of Zionist Jews, which from then on became our life. Most of our friends were in it. We've all our lifelong friends were in it. And most of us married from people that were in it. And your grandma was one of the ones she was in it. And Well, I knew her. She didn't come very often in those days. And in their days, I quite fancied her, but I didn't stand it. Didn't think I stood a chance. And I took her out once.
Yeah. Did you ask? Was it scary to ask her out? Did you?
I did actually ask her out.
Yeah.
And we went to see, we went to Covent Garden, and we saw an opera called Wozzeck.
Wozzeck.
It was the first time it was being broadcast here. And that was our only date. And I don't know why. And she met somebody else, as you know, and they became engaged. And
were you sad when that happened?
I had one or two other girlfriends.
Oh, very nice. Oh, okay. Okay, Grandpa. One or two other girlfriends. Did you, so you had one or two girlfriends otherwise. Did you think in the back of your head, I kind of like Grandma more? Or no? You're just like, maybe, who knows?
Maybe she was there somewhere in the background.
Yeah.
But she had this other boyfriend to whom she eventually became engaged.
Yeah.
And she's going to get married.
Yeah.
And I had my life and, various other girlfriends. And never, didn't. Presumably some of the things now that we did would be, wouldn't be
frowned upon?
Would be, not exactly, we didn't do anything horrible, anything nasty or anything like that, but things were pretty easier, shall we say, things were a bit easier in those days.
Yeah.
Nothing really serious, but...
Yeah.
Anyway, mostly friends from FCY. And then, as you know, your grandma's fiancé went away. He was in the Territorial Army. I think he was an officer. And he went away for training for one weekend. And she was relieved. She realised she didn't really love him.
Wow.
She liked him, but she didn't like him. He didn't behave nicely, particularly didn't behave nicely to your grandparents, your great-grandparents.
Yeah, great-grandparents,
Great-parents, especially your great-grandmother, who were lovely people.
Yeah.
And she realised she didn't like him. And the wedding was planned.
Yep.
And she said, well, I don't think I'm going to go through with it. And she
said that to you?
Pardon?
She said that to you?
Not to me, to her parents.
Yeah,
This is before we got together.
Yeah.
To her grandparents, she said, I'm not sure about my wedding. I don't think I'm going to go through with it. The wedding was planned.
Yeah.
And she said to Grandma.
Yeah.
Grandma?
Great-grandma.
Great-grandma.
Yeah.
Your great-grandma.
Yeah.
Lily.
Yep.
She said, I think I'm going to pack up with him. And she said, are you sure? Your wedding's all planned. And she went to her grandma, to her father, her great-grandfather.
Yeah, my great-grandfather.
And she said to him, I think I'm going to knock it. And he said, if you'd have said that on your way to the wedding, I would have said okay, because he hated him. So that was it. They were off.
Yeah. So that was over.
That was over.
So did she break the news to him when he came back?
I presume so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And her mother, you've heard the story many times over.
I like hearing it, though. Say it, yeah.
His mother said to her, how can you leave him? You know, you can't leave him now. You're engaged. She said to him, Grandma said to him, but his nurse doesn't behave very nicely to him. I like him. She said, so the grandma said, and his grandma was, his mother was lovely.
Yeah.
And his sister was lovely.
Yeah.
And she said to Grandma, how can you leave him now? She said, well, I don't like him anymore. She said, well, that doesn't matter. She said, you'll get to love him. She said, his father I didn't like his father either. He once threw a plate of fruit at me. He said, but you get to like him.
He threw a plate of fruit?
At
Grandma?
No, not at Grandma.
Oh.
At her fiance's mother.
Oh, wow.
Says, well, I got to love him. I stood him. And I stood him all these years.
Jeez.
So I said, well, thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
So then she rejoined FZY. Right. And we used to have meetings there.
Yeah.
In the West End.
Yeah.
And I used to drive to the meetings, usually,
yeah,
in my father's car. But for some reason, my sister, Beryl, had the car that Thursday evening.
Okay.
We were going to the West End to meet. So I went down on the train.
Yeah.
So I went to the station, Gold Street Station. I got on the train, and who is sitting opposite to me? But your grandma.
Yeah.
And she noticed that I was looking at her hands. She took her gloves off, and I could see she wasn't wearing wedding ring, engagement ring. And that's how.
And that's it.
That was it.
Did you say, okay, let's go out? Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. And then that was it.
That was it. That's how we met.
That's amazing.
And then on.
It's forever, yeah.
That was it.
And
I think she had other boyfriends at the time.
While she was seeing you at the same time?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Did you have other girlfriends or no?
No.
No.
No, I never had a regular girlfriend. Yeah. She was seeing somebody else at the time. But somehow she found, I don't know why.
Did you try and do
I think really she liked me because I was a contrast to her previous wife.
Because you were nice.
The opposite.
Yeah. I think there may be other reasons too. I think there might be other reasons.
I don't know about that. That was the main reason, I think.
Did you try to do really romantic things and stuff like that to win? Not really?
No, it wasn't my scene.
No, not really. No flowers or chocolates.
It wasn't really my scene.
No, that's not your stuff.
That's not my scene. You know when I proposed to her, that's where I proposed to her.
No, I don't.
You never heard about it?
No, I didn't hear about it.
She must have told you about
probably a million
my
times.
romantic proposal.
Go ahead, yes.
No?
I have a feeling it's not romantic. Go on.
Well, one day we went to my cousin Beulah's wedding, my late cousin Beulah's wedding, together. And we were what do they call these days? They call
couple, boyfriend, girlfriend.
No, there's another thing they call it. What do they call it?
Going steady.
No, there's no
engaged.
No, not a company, a something.
Significant other.
No, there's another thing they call it. Well, it doesn't matter. We were together.
Yeah.
Okay. So after my cousin Beulah went up to me during the wedding and said, "What about it?" It's about time. So we went home to your grandma's house.
Yeah.
And in the kitchen, I made the most romantic proposal anybody ever heard.
Yes.
I said to her, to your grandma, I said, "Could you stand the name of Gergel for the rest of your life?"
What'd she say?
She said yes.
Yeah, she said yes. Did you have a ring at the time?
What?
Did you even have a ring?
No.
You didn't have a ring?
I didn't have a ring.
Did you go get one the next day?
Yeah, well, not the next day.
Yeah.
I went to my mum, we got a ring.
Did you tell everyone? Did she call her family?
Yeah, somebody said to her, somebody said to me once during the time before we had the ring, she said, "When are you going to get engaged?" And I remember saying, "We are engaged." Because we were engaged.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
As far as I was concerned, ring wasn't important. The important thing was we were engaged.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And we were.
Yeah, you were.
Well, that was a romantic.
Very romantic.
The most romantic engagement ever. Right. So that's it. That was our engagement.
And that's so funny. Did she make fun of you for that engagement later, or was she?
She always repeated the story.
Yeah, I think I have heard it. I've heard it. I think I've definitely heard it. Do you remember falling in love with Grandma?
Oh, always.
Forever and all. Yeah.
I was surprised she took me, actually. Really? Very surprised. Really?
Yeah. It's amazing.
And I thought how lucky I was to have her.
Yeah.
I remember going on our honeymoon trip and going onto the arm in arm to the Airforce. I thought,
Where'd you go on your honeymoon?
Grandma hated flying.
Yes.
The 10. She had flown many years before with a friend, and she hated it. We flew to Rome,
Mm-hmm.
and then and I was so happy going on the plane with her. I still remember it.
Yeah.
We went to Rome, and we took the train down to Sorrento. We had our honeymoon in Sorrento, and then we stayed there for a week, I think. And then we went on the night train, went back to Rome and took the night train to Venice. We spent the rest of our honeymoon there in Venice. And we met some friends there who were also friends I knew from FZY. Mm-hmm. They were staying at the fancy hotel on Lido called I don't know what it's called. Not the really fancy hotel where the film stars all stay, the Excelsior.
Oh, the Excelsior.
Well, the second stage, right?
The second fancy
hotel.
Well, yeah, that's good enough, I think.
Oh, the second. We weren't staying there.
Yeah.
We were staying in a less fancy hotel round the corner. But we met these friends, and they let us use the beach of the second fancy hotel. And
sounds pretty good to me.
Pardon?
It sounds good to me.
Yeah. So we were friends with them for years and years after. We went to stay with them. They went to stay with us.
Do you think
the Beckers, they were called.
The Beckers.
Lyle and Doreen Becker, and they were eventually divorced. They were friends of years later.
What do you think? Like one of the, because Grandma, amazing. I'm always so lucky. I have the best grandparents in the world. I really do have the best grandparents in the world. What do you think is one thing that she taught you?
Pardon?
What do you think one thing's Grandma taught you?
Taught?
What do you think you learned from her or life stuff from Grandma?
Well, she always said I only married her because she was so clever. Because she was brilliant at school.
Yeah.
I wasn't much good at school. She was brilliant at school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, she told me about it. So that's the only reason I know.
That's crazy. That's so funny.
But she was, I suppose one of the most important things I learned from was to play bridge.
Yeah.
Because she was keen.
Uh-huh.
We played, but in a very modest sort of way.
Yeah.
Mainly my late cousin Beulah.
Yeah.
And what we did with Beulah mainly was talk, or she would bake a cake in the middle, and so we didn't play a very serious game. And she said, I'm going to take it up seriously. I'm going to go to evening school to take it.
Wow.
And
to play bridge.
To learn bridge. I said, you don't need to bother. You can bring it all out from a book. But she went, and she learned so much. But then the next year, I came with her. We had a wonderful teacher called, whatever his name was. And we used to go to evening classes to play bridge. And from there on, I was hooked with the game. We were both hooked.
How many hands of bridge do you think you've played?
Oh, thousands. I mean, if you play an average of 24 rounds of hands of bridge, 24 deals in an evening, and we would play four times a week.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
For 50-odd years. Work it out.
That's a lot. 40 times 50, that's, it's you're in the high thousands. You're getting to the high
work
thousands.
It out. I mean, 24, 50.
So if you said 40 hands, 50 years, wait.
Well, in a week we would play, say, five times 24, say 100.
100 hands a week.
100 hands a week.
Then 50 weeks, so that's 5,000 a year.
5,000 a year.
50 years. Oh God, what's 50 times 5,000? 250,000.
250,000 voted out, probably. But I had probably a few more.
You had a few more.
I never worked it out before.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
That's so many.
50-odd years we played. More than 50 years.
Yeah. That's so many hands.
Well, no, maybe 50 years.
50 years?
Yeah, 50 years.
What do you... So that was a good Rome was a good the good honeymoon.
Rome was lovely.
What do you think the best vacation you ever went on was? If you had to pick
the best vacation I've ever had?
Yeah.
Unquestionably, Egypt.
Egypt.
What
was in Egypt?
We went on a steamer down the Thames. Up.
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
To Nile.
The Nile, yeah.
From wherever it is.
Yeah, below Egypt, down Egypt. Yeah, go ahead.
Going south, but up. It's, up the river. And you go in this boat, this steamer. I don't know what they call them. Craft.
Yeah, boat.
Riverboat.
Riverboat. Yeah.
And the captain was really the entertainment manager.
Oh, really? Captain and entertainment.
He didn't drive. He had nothing to do with driving the ship. The ship was driven by an old boy who used to sit in the front.
Yeah.
And he lived there had his bed there and his crew there. And he would navigate this ship, all round up the Thames, up the
Nile, yes.
Up the Nile.
Yeah.
With no charts, nothing, day and night, by his knowledge of the...
Wow.
He knew exactly every bend, every sandbank, and he had his bed there, and he wasn't always steering all day long, but whenever he was called on, he was there. And he was the actual captain of the ship.
So why was it so good, so great,
so interesting?
Yeah.
First of all, the ship,
because
it was like going back 3,000 years.
Really?
Because you could see on the sides there were palm trees and the farms and the men with the camels farming, and there were all the temples.
Yeah,
which all the different temples going down all the way, and you could see you had you visited all these temples, and you see about ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And then we went to the tombs of the pharaohs.
Yeah.
Tutankhamun's tomb, Nefertiti's tomb, and it was and your Auntie Shirley had
How old were you when you went on this trip?
Oh, it must have been 20 years ago.
20 years ago? Like 70s?
I suppose so, yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, maybe the 70s. I don't know about then. And then we went on down all the tombs, and there was a new tomb that had just been opened. One of the queens, we went in there, and we saw the tomb of Tutankhamun, of course. And then afterwards, we saw the little islands and the sailing boats. It was really wonderful. And then we went back to Cairo and spent a few days in Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
We went out to the pyramids. Most horrible. We were taken to Cairo, from Cairo to Giza, where the pyramids and the Sphinx was, but in a minibus. It was the most horrifying ride I've ever had in my life. Talk about the war. This is worse.
Being on the minibus is worse than the war. Okay.
Worse than the war. This driver was, of course, in Cairo, the traffic was appalling.
Yeah.
It probably still is. There are traffic lights there, 3 colours, red, yellow and green.
Yeah.
And the guide told us they all had the same meaning. They all meant go. It didn't make any difference. They all went go in Cairo. So this driver, driving to the Giza, he just never stopped. He had his foot down on the accelerator the whole time. 2-lane highways, 3-lane highways, made no difference. Going through the villages, there were chickens and and stalls.
Yeah.
Straight through the middle, straight through like that. Horrible. Absolutely
That sounds like a
horrifying.
great trip.
Oh, wonderful. Anyway, we got to the pyramids, which was
Yeah.
wonderful,
Yeah.
and the Sphinx.
Yeah.
And we went to the pyramids, and somebody said, especially your Auntie Shirley,
Yeah.
said, we go inside. I said, I don't want to go inside. So she said, you must go inside. I said, I don't particularly want to. She said, well, you must go. So, all right, we'll go.
So you went inside.
I thought, I'm claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I can't go inside.
The mummies too. This could come
What?
out. The mummies.
No, the mummies nothing to do with it. There's no mummies
No
in there.
mummies.
No, so she said, well, go inside. So the guide says, okay, we'll take you in. So we go up the steps to the entrance. Your Auntie Shirley's in the front. We get inside with four of us, Auntie Shirley and Uncle Stanley.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
grandma. Me.
Yeah.
And I think the
guy.
Marks are with us as well, Betty and Buddy Marks.
Okay.
So we're inside. We get about 20 yards inside. And Shirley said, I can't stand it. She said, I'm going out, I can't stand it. It's horrible in here. She said she couldn't stand it. She was so claustrophobic.
Really?
She ran out of that. And we carried on.
Did you stay or you leave
I
too?
stayed on. We went right up
Wow.
front. Went up to the middle of the stair, the narrow stair, and I wasn't the least claustrophobic.
That's so funny.
Very, very funny. She was the dead keen one.
She ran away.
She
That's cool that you're in a pyramid.
went
That's really cool.
right up to the middle, to this burial chamber, right in the middle.
Oh, that's crazy. The things have changed. It's funny
Pardon?
how things have changed. You
Yeah.
can't do that.
You
What?
can't? You can't?
I don't think you can. You definitely can't climb them.
Well, you couldn't climb
Yeah.
then.
But I don't know if you can go in. You probably can.
Oh, I
actually.
think you still
I think
can
you
go
can go in. So after the war, because the war is a pretty big experience. What do you think? To you, what do you think after the war was your most shocking experience? Was there ever a shocking experience? Like, for example, what kind of took you back? Because I know there was
Always the Holocaust.
Holocaust, finding out.
Obviously.
Yeah.
9/11.
9/11. Yeah, those are the big ones. Those are the ones I would think of too.
Yeah, 9/11. What else? I don't know.
No, those are exactly what I would think. Those are the things.
I can't.
So now I have some questions from
go
the
on.
family. They've sent me. These are like the life lessons, kind of the questions thing.
Don't
Actually,
know.
we'll do a fun one first, or maybe not a fun one.
What?
We'll do a fun question first. I think it's a fun question. So if you could change one thing about society, within reason, of course, you can't make people flying or anything like that. If you could change one
Oh,
thing.
absolutely. I got it straight away.
Okay, go ahead.
I banned social
Media?
media.
You'd ban all social media.
I banned all social media.
Facebook, Instagram.
I wouldn't ban. Social. I wouldn't ban messages. What they call it.
Messaging each other.
Messaging. I wouldn't ban that. I ban all
Facebook.
any social media which goes to the masses. I would ban.
Why?
That is the worst thing that has ever happened to the world
You think it's the worst thing?
by far.
Really?
Far worse than COVID.
Worse than COVID?
Oh yes,
Social media.
done more damage.
You think it's done more damage?
Much more.
What damage has it done? What do you think?
Well,
it did?
when it first started off,
Yeah.
I think it was called Friends United.
Yeah.
People used to meet old friends. It led to divorces.
Yeah.
It led to all sorts of things. Now, of course, it's led to much more horrific things.
Yeah.
It's ruining children's lives.
Uh-huh.
It's killing people. It's killing people. It's because they have suicide,
Yeah.
self-harm, rape.
Yeah.
It's horrors.
Yeah.
It's a horrible. It is a horror. It's worse than plague. It's worse than COVID. I think it's worse than war.
Wow.
I really do.
Wow.
I mean this. I'm not joking.
I tell you mean it.
I'm not joking. I would ban it all.
Yeah. Ban it all.
Ban it absolutely all.
Do you not think there are any benefits to it?
Oh yes, of course
Yeah.
there are benefits.
Yeah.
many benefits, but they vastly.
You think it's the negatives outweigh the benefits
because of the mass communication.
Yeah,
that I'd definitely ban. Honestly,
you'd ban that.
Absolutely, I would. I wouldn't.
That's the change.
Pardon?
That's the change. No, that I get that.
That is the most.
Yeah. So what I think personally, I think it does do bad things for sure.
What?
I think it definitely does bad things. There are bad things that it does, but I think I don't know. It's a.
But don't you think the bad things vastly outweigh the good?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure that the bad things have a direct cause and effect relationship from social media. Do you know what I mean? I think there's an association, and some things are caused from very bad things are caused from social media.
But apart from the bad things, apart from the really horrible things, like rape and incest and self-harm and suicide, they're the very bad things.
Yeah.
And they're not unusual. They're usual. Yeah. They're happening all the time.
Yeah.
But apart from the very bad things, there's a ruination of children's lives. They spend their lives in front of this bloody thing, looking at it all day long.
I hear you. I see what you mean.
That's it.
Is it? But yeah, I hear you. I know what you're saying.
I mean, I can't understand why it is allowed. Honestly, I can't. Yeah. I can't understand. I would immediately stop it all.
Yeah. There's definitely damage to it.
Well,
and
there's more than damage.
You think it's
ruining a generation.
Yeah.
It's ruining a generation.
But you don't think there's a lot of differences of that from this is the classic argument that people make, right? Newspapers.
What about newspapers?
Well, people used to look at newspapers all the time and they're constantly with them. You don't think they kind of...
Oh, of course they do a lot of harm.
Yeah.
But no, that's margin. Well, thousands of people don't sit together and read the same newspaper.
Yeah, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah.
At the same time as saying, I'm going to do that. Oh, that man's been off killing people. I think we're going to do that as well. Why not? They don't do that.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
They're not saying, they don't read the newspaper and say, this man has been raping children. Oh, well, we're just going to do it. They don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's maybe, but that's a tough connection because people used to think, right? People used to say violent video games. When you see people playing violent video games, you're more apt to do violence, right? But that's exactly right? There's
I don't think so.
I agree, and there's studies that show this.
I don't think so at all. There's been studies on it.
That show that this doesn't happen. Yeah, right. So that's the change. That's the grandpa change.
That is my one.
Taking all
I would
social
do that.
media.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
It's worse than plague. It's worse than illness. Well, not worse than cancer, obviously.
Yeah.
But if I could...
cancer is worse.
I can't do it. I can't stop cancer.
Yeah.
But I could stop video.
Yeah.
I could stop into social media.
So I think you've done really great things in your life. You've done amazing things. Do you have any regrets in the past 97? Can we say 97 years yet?
Yes.
We can't say 97.
I regret I didn't become an engineer. I'd love to have been an engineer.
Yeah.
I spent all my life in the schmutter business.
Yeah, schmutter.
Which I never liked.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the buying. Buying's lovely. You meet nice people.
Yeah.
You meet nice people when you're buying. You become friends with them. You travel. But selling, customers, if I may say so. Do you mind me being sexist?
You can say anything you want.
Do you mind me being sexist once in a while?
Yeah, it's within say it.
Women customers, don't ever deal with them. Don't deal with women.
Well, I think the trend is sometimes women are more into of course this is a vast generalization, but I think the trend in society is sometimes that usually women are more into clothes and stuff like that, right? In a certain way. So maybe that's why. Okay. So engineering, I think engineering would be cool.
I'd love to be an engineer.
Yeah.
Mechanical engineer. That's what, my brother does that too, which is cool. So what do you think the greatest lesson you've learned from your children is? Oh, yeah. No.
I'm giving you the tough ones now. It gets hard. It's just going to get harder.
Oh, no.
We're nearing the end here, so I got to give you the toughest ones.
Oh, I can't think.
Or a lesson. Or something.
For my children.
Or did they ever do something that made you think, oh, maybe I should change the way I do these things?
Just be proud of them. I'm so proud of my children. I think they're fantastic. I don't think I'm the luckiest father in the world to have children and grandchildren like I've got. But what do I learn from them? Well, they're all so different.
They're very different.
They're so different in their different ways. I mean, your dad's very athletic, but I can talk a lot to him. Simon is phlegmatic. He say something to Simon, it's done immediately.
Yeah.
Lawrence, Lawrence is very caring. He will do anything for anybody. He's always been like that.
Yeah.
Tanya, she's marvellous to me. She looks after us.
Yeah.
What can I say?
They're different. They're very different. Yeah.
They're so different.
They're so different.
To say I've learned one thing from them, one thing is one thing I have learned from them is you can't make favourites.
Yeah.
So they're all so different in their own ways.
There is no real favourite child, is there?
It can't be.
It can't be.
Because you've loved each one for different things.
Yeah.
For everything,
But there can be a favourite grandchild, right? You can say.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Of course. Okay.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
You know it's my favourite.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's official now. Yeah, of course, we can say that. How about from your mom and dad? Any lessons, like a big lesson from your mom and dad, or something that they would tell you all the time?
Well, my dad was very generous.
Yeah.
Very charitable. Very, very charitable. He would do things for people. For youth, he would work in the community. A lot of work. He was the member of the deputies for our shul. My mum, I suppose, I learned love. She loved people. She loved people. To love people. What else? To love family. To work hard, I suppose. I don't know. There you are.
So, no, those are good.
I can't think of any.
No, that's because Dad always tells me, he's one of the people who actually tells me this the most, and I guess he definitely got it from you and Grandma, right? Dad teaches me things like, he always be a mensch, be a good person to other people for no reason other than being good to these people. And he used to always tell me kind of, when I do certain things as a kid, he used to say, I'd say, why do I want to do this? I don't want to do this. And he'd say, listen, you do it because it's a good thing to do, because you're being nice to people. And I think it's definitely something he learned from you guys.
Very difficult answer these philosophy questions.
Oh, they're tough. They're the hardest questions They're the hardest questions here, and they're just going to
Ask Ron to Tanya, she's a philosopher.
A great philosopher, too. A really good philosopher. Another tough one. Ready? Here we go. So, as a father and a husband, I think you've created and done well to have kind of an amazingly successful and family that's done well. What would you say kind of are one or two lessons or one or two things you can say for people to do to kind of go towards this success? Because your 4 kids have all done very well.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Very well.
Obviously, you've got to concentrate on their education.
Yeah.
And we made, I won't say sacrifices because they're not real sacrifices.
Yeah.
A real sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's a real sacrifice.
Yeah.
But we were careful.
Yeah.
We were careful. We didn't go on expensive holidays.
Yeah.
We wanted to pay for our children's education.
Education was first.
Education is important, so important,
Yeah.
I think. And behave well.
Yeah.
To behave well to your friends and neighbours, I suppose. So, yes, and I don't know.
No, those are important things.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun.
I can't say sport, because one of the worst sportsmen in the world was me.
No, you're pretty... we played croquet a couple... You're not bad at croquet. I remember playing that. That was pretty good.
I'm terrible at sport. I couldn't play cricket. I mean, the highest number of runs I ever got was 5.
I know nothing about cricket. That sounds good to me. That's like in baseball, American baseball, if you get 5 home runs, that's insane. That's crazy. If you get
5 runs is not 5 home runs.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. 5 runs is not.
Even 50 isn't too fantastic.
Yeah.
That's I don't know why I've got such athletic children and grandchildren. I've no idea. must be from your grandma, certainly not from me.
I'm sure there's some part of it, maybe deep in your genes, deep in your DNA, that maybe didn't come out for you.
It never did.
But it may have came out for the rest.
I could swim. That's about all I could ever do.
Yeah. So I'm an awful swimmer. I'm awful.
Oh, you're not an awful swimmer.
I was the third. Well, I mean, compared to regular people, I'm probably a good swimmer. But I was on my swim team. I was the third worst swimmer on the swim team. Definitely the third worst swimmer. And I did it for 3 years. I did it for 3 out of 4 years. I was so bad. So bad. Okay, ready? Tough question again.
Your Uncle Lawrence is a fantastic swimmer. He always was.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't swim a lot, but he's always a natural swimmer.
Natural.
His diving was natural.
Yeah.
He never learned to dive. He just dived.
Just dive. Yeah, that's tough, though. Driven the highlights. Okay. So, Judaism. Here's the question. What do you think being Jewish means to you?
Means being a part of the community.
Part of the community.
And nothing else.
Nothing else.
Absolutely nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. Part of the community.
Because a question I had from my brother and his wife, Nico, is they're raising their kids as Jewish.
Yes.
And they're just...
Why not?
What?
Why not?
No, yeah, it's great. I agree. I think it's great. But they're just wondering, how do you instill how do you instill this religion in your kids? I guess is the question.
How do you instill what?
The religion in your kids, the community. What do you tell your kids about Judaism? About being a Jew, I guess. And because it's better now, thankfully, than it was during the Holocaust. I mean, that was, I think, the low point. But it's not an easy religion to follow.
It's
right?
not.
It's not.
I've experienced, not badly, but I have experienced a certain amount of anti-Semitism in my time. I mean, I've been one of the lucky ones. I never had any in the Air Force, I can tell you. Yeah. Never, ever. In the Air Force.
Never in the Air Force.
Never at school. Yeah. Never at school. But only on the side somehow, but slyly. I mean, my father wanted to be a Freemason. Yeah. He never became.
Because he was Jewish.
He was a big member of the community. Yeah. He was a charitable man. Yeah. He was never made a Freemason. I couldn't get articled to an firm of accountants in Kent.
Really?
No.
The community, I think, is definitely the most important thing.
Yeah.
Community. That's what I would tell them. What do you think is the key? This is the question, right? It's not the meaning of life question. I think I'd word it a little bit differently. But what have you found that have been the greatest contributors to having a good life? A good 97 years, if anyone's ever lucky enough to get to your 97. I know, here we go.
I think being interested in things.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in things. Taking an interest in whatever you do. And I've been lucky with my health, presumably. What else? I can't say. Being interested in people. I'm always interested in people. Yeah. I love listening to people talk. I like to hear people talk.
You do?
I love to hear people talk.
It's really nice, actually. It's a really nice thing you do. Because a lot of people, they just talk to people and they think, what is the next thing I'm going to say? What is the next thing I'm going to say? And usually it's, what is the next thing I'm going to say about myself? But you're always interested in other people.
I love to.
It's great.
Being interested in people, I suppose that helps a lot.
Yeah. But it's not fake from you either. You can tell it's a genuine interest that you have in other people. It's amazing.
Yeah.
2 more questions. You ready for the final 2?
Oh, cool. Come on.
Final 2. The next one's a good one. And the last one's very open, so it's different. So the next one, what do you think your proudest moment in life was? Kids being born, marrying grandma aside.
What do you mean proud?
What made you feel the proudest? Like,
They can be trivial, can't they? They don't have to be serious.
No, anything.
I'm very proud of my painting.
Yeah?
I'm very proud of my portraits.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of my portraits.
I like your portraits too.
I don't think I've been particularly good at most other things. I've never been particularly good at bridge, or I love the game. I'm only a very average player. So
I'm sure you're good. I'm sure you're good. You've played
really,
250,000 hands.
I really am not that good.
250,000.
Yeah, I'm not that good. Honestly, I'm not that good. I know the game. I know a lot about it.
I bet you're
not
good.
That good. I have a bad memory. I'm not a natural player. I'm not a natural player.
I bet you're good.
I'm not. Really, honestly. I mean it.
Yeah.
I really mean it. I really do mean it. I'm good compared with some of the people I play with, but that's nothing to do. But I'm proud. As I suppose my only real skill that I've a little bit better than other people at is my painting, or was. I'm not so sure.
I think your painting's pretty good.
That I think it's slightly above the average, and that's being a bit.
And coming from you, that's huge, because you never brag about anything. It's very hard to get you to brag about something.
No.
You're aware of this. You never. So that's why I think you and I know. I mean, I don't know much about art, but I love your paintings, and they're hanging around the house for a reason.
Mm-hmm. They're not bad. I mean, I know when I see a real painter, I think, why do I bother?
Yeah. Yeah.
But compared with something, compared with other people's managers that I've paid with.
I'm adding an extra question because I just thought of one. That's okay. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that people make in life? Big mistakes.
God. I suppose thinking of themselves before thinking of other people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a great answer.
Huh?
That's a great answer. Yeah. It's so easy to be selfish, right? I think it's kind of the natural. It's the natural way.
Strange enough, you may not think so. I really do regard myself as a selfish person.
Definitely not.
I really do.
No.
I really do.
Why? You're not selfish.
Because I regard, this is a philosophical answer, I don't think there is any such thing as altruism.
You don't think there's any time? I actually agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you.
You do things because you want to do them because you think it's good.
Yeah.
You think you
But here's what I think. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad that you think that you feel good when you're doing it. I think the most important thing is the good thing you're doing.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think I ought to do it.
Yeah.
But not because I'm altruistic, not because I think I have to do it. I don't do it because I think I have to do it. I don't think there's something inside me that says you have to do this good thing.
But you feel good. And it's I think that's okay. And I agree with you. I don't know if altruism exists.
Pardon?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if altruism exists.
No. I don't think there is such a thing.
Yeah.
You only do things to your own satisfaction.
Yeah.
But if your own satisfaction happens to be a good thing, that's good.
Yeah. And I'm just throwing in questions here because they keep popping into my head. And you think Harry Potter movies are silly? Or do you think they're good?
I think they're absolutely ridiculous.
Ridiculous? It's amazing. It's another world. It's a magical world.
But
they're flying.
I don't believe
they cast spell. They make feathers fly in the air.
But Zach, if you can fly in the air, why should you be better at flying in the air than somebody else is flying in the air?
Because you're a more skilled wizard.
Excuse me. If you can bend a stick in half by looking at it, that's as good as anything. Then you can do anything in the world. But
I can bend a stick in half, but the master magician can bend a building in half with his mind.
What?
So I can bend a stick.
No, the point is, if there is such a thing as magic, or
probably isn't,
or what's the word? Speaking of other or
magicians, wizards.
No, not magicians. Like, what should I say? superstition, like believing in ghosts and anything like that.
I don't believe in ghosts.
Or no, all right, or anything like that, or magic,
Vampires.
If there's a limit, if there's a thing that you could do one magical thing. If I'm not a conjurer, obviously.
You're not a conjurer?
No. I say I'm not. I'm not. I'm most unskilled with my hands. If there was somebody that could possibly do something actual magical, even a tiny thing, then there's no limit to it. Do you understand? What I mean is, for instance, you see a film.
I see what you're saying.
There's no limit. The fact that there's a limit is the nonsense. If you see a film with a child, a man, well, these sticks, light sticks, whatever they are.
Wand,
sight wand. And they can do things with that.
Yeah.
But they can't do other things. They can't fly to the moon in an instant.
It's no air in the moon, in space.
They can't. For instance, one might be better than the other. If one could turn this table upside down by looking at it, or break it in half by looking at it, and one magician, his powers are limited, he can't. It's nonsense. Because once there's magical powers, they're unlimited. That's why I can't stand That's why I can't stand Harry Potter, because his magical powers are limited. If their powers were unlimited, okay, fair enough. That man could do anything. He could kill me by looking at me. He could break the building down by looking at it. He could split the earth in two. But there's no limit. If you've got one magical power, you've got millions, unlimited. That's why I can't stand Harry Potter. Not because it's nonsense, because it is nonsense, but because do you understand? Do you understand that?
What about the idea that it's fun to watch nonsense, even though we know it's nonsense? It's a nice thing to watch. You don't only possible things.
No, but only possible things.
Only possible things.
Only possible. I like comedians.
Yeah.
But only because they do things which are possible.
Yeah.
Bad things happen to them.
Yeah.
Bad things happen. Bad things don't happen to magicians.
Bad things don't happen to magicians.
No, bad things. They can't, because a real magician, nothing bad could happen to him. Because he controls the world.
Yeah.
And that's why Harry Potter is nonsense. That's why. It can't make any sense. You know, if you're playing a game, you're hitting a stick in the air, you're flying in the air, hitting a stick.
Yeah.
But you're a magician.
Quidditch.
Why should you bother?
It's the sport of the movie.
But you're a bother. Why should you bother? You're a magician. Just tell the ball to move. It'll move.
It doesn't obey by those rules. It doesn't.
But why should there be rules for magicians? As either a magician, you're either a magician or you're not. You're not. Don't you follow me?
I do follow you. I follow you.
You follow my logic.
But it's like certain people can lift heavy weights. I see what you're saying. I know. I know what your answer will be to this. What I say. Well, I follow your logic. Yeah. I follow your logic.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's right. The strongest man in the world. I mean, that woman in the Olympics.
Yeah.
She lifted up two 20-stone men.
Yeah.
But she can't pick up 20. Yeah. She can't pick up 20 or 50 or 100.
Yeah.
That's her limit. Most of the limit is much less than that. I can't pick up my grandchild.
I'm saying magicians, they also have limits.
But why?
I see.
Why?
I don't think I can win this. I'm trying.
Why should a magician have a limit? What's the point of it? What's the point of being a magician if you've got a limit? What sort of magician are you?
Because then what's the point of life? You got to learn to be a better magician and, turn...
the point of life is to become better at what you... Well, it's not the only point. But one of the points of life is to become better at what you do.
Yeah.
But you've got a limit. You've got a limit. I'm a cricketer. I'm the best cricketer in the world.
Yeah.
But I can't score 1,000 runs off one ball. But if I was a magician, I would just... Boom, and I've won the test match.
Boom.
That's it. The test match is won. Okay?
Or you just destroy...
If I were a magician... anything. I mean, the sea's wet, make it dry. Okay, it's dry. Yeah, okay.
Okay, I get it. I get it. I don't agree, but I get it.
Why don't you agree?
Because there's two things I don't agree on. The first thing I agree on is maybe it's hard to be a magician. It's hard to be a magician, so you have to get trained on it. So, but I know your point there. The second thing is I like watching the movies because you escape. That's the whole point. It's fiction, fantasy.
No, I don't believe this.
So you don't believe.
I like to watch a movie where two people sitting in a room,
Yeah,
having an intelligent conversation. The ideal movie, the best movie ever, must be 12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men, you think is the best movie ever?
Well, I don't really. It's not really my best movie. But if I would say the best...
What's the best
type
film?
Of music?
What's the best film ever that you saw?
Manchurian Candidate comes close to it.
Manchurian Candidate?
Comes close to it.
Yeah.
What's Up, Doc isn't far off.
What's Up, Doc? What's the best book you ever read?
Huh?
What's the best book you ever read? Book.
I'm not a great reader.
Not a great reader? Skip it. What's your favorite piece of music?
Probably Beethoven's Fifth Piano Concerto.
Beethoven's
The Emperor's Concerto.
I think I know that one. I do like it too. That's down.
It's magical.
Yeah.
It's magical. That second movement does something to me.
Yeah. What was your favorite food as a kid?
Fun?
What was your favorite food when you were a kid? Do you remember you used to eat anything?
I hated all food.
You hated all food?
I was the worst eater. I was a sickly child, and I hated, especially my mother's chicken soup.
You hated her chicken soup? Your mom?
One of the best things I had when I was in the Air Force, moving to London, and going to my aunt, Rosie, and having her chicken soup. Up to then, I didn't know you could enjoy chicken soup. I'm sorry to say that my dear late mother
didn't make a great chicken soup.
She made wonderful veal chops. She was a wonderful cook, but I hated her chicken soup. But
I'm sure she'll forgive you. I'm sure she'll forgive you.
My Auntie Rosie was magical.
Yeah.
She made Edna's.
The best,
amazing.
Best chicken soup ever.
It's the vegetables that do it.
The cutting, you're right. It's the way you cut them.
It's the way I cut the vegetables.
It's the way that makes it. I think there's nothing else that really does it. Cooking, seasoning, nothing. Water, chicken stock. The way you put it together really doesn't matter. Chefs really have no purpose. It should just be the line cooks.
Pardon?
Chefs have no purpose. It should just be the prep people that cut it all because they're the most important ones.
What?
The prep. So you know how there's like different chefs?
Oh, chefs.
Yeah. Chefs don't do much. No. It's the people that cut the vegetables.
Right.
Yeah, they're the ones that do it. They're the ones that do it. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny. So that's it. Really?
That's it.
Is there anything you want to tell your family that are watching this? No, nothing. You've said it all.
No.
Is there anything you want to tell the random people of the internet or anything like that? No? I think this was pretty good.
I don't think they must have if they've listened to this at all with any interest, I suppose they know more or less what I think and what I do and what my views are.
Yeah, I think they do.
I'm a bit of a, what's the word?
You're cut and dry, definitely.
Yeah.
Iconoclast?
That's the word.
Iconoclast.
That's the word.
Definitely iconoclast, yeah.
I
would say so. Breaker of idols.
I can't stand people that respect people for nothing. Yeah.
Respect people for nothing?
Yeah, but they're idols, as you say.
Yeah.
I'm a conqueror.
Like if you saw a really famous movie star on the street or something like that, would it be not a big deal to you?
Oh, no, I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's a famous movie? I don't know any famous movies.
I'm trying to think of...
They're all dead, all the famous movies.
What if I don't know. I'm trying to think of a famous movie star. Or a famous footballer. Nah, don't really care.
No. Einstein, maybe.
Einstein?
Maybe.
Churchill? This is a question. And then we're really going to stop because I know they're going to kick us out of here.
Certainly Churchill, yeah.
Was Churchill... Because Churchill's talked about and idolized, right, nowadays and stuff like that. During the war... Was Churchill like that amazing of a presence and stuff like that? Was he that inspiring?
Of course he was.
Yeah, he was. He really was.
Very inspiring.
Yeah.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
He meant to be very clever.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people scorn our present Prime Minister.
Yeah.
But he has that similar touch.
Yeah.
Similar
what
touch.
do you remember about him during the war? Was it just like you felt about Churchill?
What he said was good, He inspired the nation.
Yeah.
I actually saw him once.
Really?
Tell you that.
No.
Yeah, on VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. I wasn't the only one. There were about 4 million people with me in Whitehall, and he was on the balcony.
Yeah.
And
wow, you were there.
I saw him on the balcony, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the closest close as I ever got to him. Oh, I think, might I say something?
Yeah.
I think one thing about this country,
Yeah.
and I don't know if people, I think the royal family, for all their faults,
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah.
Because they have no power whatsoever.
Yeah.
They amuse me. They're to watch.
Yeah.
And to love, and if they do stupid things and wicked things, which some of them do, I still love them because they got no power.
Yeah.
The power is with the people, not with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think it's wonderful to have a royal family. I'd hate to live in a presidential state.
It'd be a lot.
The most important thing, she's there.
Yeah.
She may be good.
Yeah.
Which I think she is.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not bad.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Because she's only there opening Parliament. Parliament makes an act.
Yeah.
It's presented to her. She puts her name at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's all we need her for.
That's all she does.
I'm sorry to say so. It could be a monkey. Really, I'm not.
But
being,
you like that, though. That's what you like. Yeah, no. That's what you like.
She's a lovely woman.
Yeah.
But it could be a monkey.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
He's the head of state.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
That's what you like.
That's what I like. I love it. If I have the closest thing to a religion, it's the religion of being part of being in a monarchy.
Yeah, monarchy.
Monarchy is fantastic.
A monarchy with no real power.
Monarchy with absolutely no power.
A monarchy
whatsoever.
with absolutely no power.
They're there to admire, to look at.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think it's great. I agree. I think it's great. I don't know what the best government system is.
No, that's difficult.
I don't know. But I think I think it's very nice to have a queen or a king there. I think it's a great thing to have.
Wonderful thing to have.
I think it's a great thing to have. What do you think about, I'm just going forever now. What do you think about kind of, because I know you said it earlier, but I just want to bring it up again, the COVID stuff that's going on right now as compared to when the war was going on?
No comparison.
No comparison. Really?
Worse.
It's worse now.
Oh.
People are more scared, you think?
More. Terribly. I think it's horrible. When old people, I'm in an old people's home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way these people are scared of their lives.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Illogical.
Yeah.
Completely illogical.
It's scary.
I mean, how many people get knocked down by cars?
Yeah.
You'd do nothing. If we treated every bad thing with the way we treat COVID, people would curl up in a little ball. Yeah. Everybody would curl up in a little ball and it wouldn't go anything, wouldn't do anything at all.
That's crazy.
Don't you think so?
I'm going to keep my opinions on the whole COVID thing out of the public eye just because of, just for certain reasons. But yeah, I just find it really interesting, the comparison that you just made to the way it was during the war and then the way it is now. There's more fear.
We got on with life.
Yeah.
Those bus drivers. Yeah. During the Blitz.
Yeah.
During that horrible fire of London. Yeah. I was speaking to another man who did similar for me. Yeah. They got on the bus and went home. Do you think a bus driver would do that now? No. Driving over hoses and fires? Would a bus driver do that now?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
He wouldn't.
What was the Blitz like?
Well, it's the Blitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
If your name was on the bomb, that was it.
That's it.
That was it.
And was there a time when there was a house next to you that was bombed?
No,
Grandma's.
No, I was never close to a bomb. The closest I think I was always when I was stationed at St. John's Wood. I see a man, I think he was an officer in the Airforce, running down the road with his arm bleeding. He must have been near a bomb when he went off. No, never. Fortunately, never close to that. No.
It's amazing. Well, Grandpa, this has been amazing. This has been really, really great. We've been talking for nearly 3 hours now, just to let you know. Yeah, it's about 5:30 now. It's been 3 hours pretty much, nearly, that we've been talking. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Yeah.
I love the afternoon.
Awesome. We're done. Finished.
Oh, great. Lovely.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here, let me give you a hug. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh. I'd love to be with you more. I wish I could.
No, this is amazing. I mean, isn't it so... It's